Chapter 2270. However, on the surface, Lin Yi still maintained his composure and said, "My previous identity was that of an adventurer. I went up the mountain with the Tagan family to capture the small fire lions, but there were some problems, and the capture of the small fire lions was only a pretense. I had other purposes for going up the mountain, so I had a conflict with the Tagan family." Lin Yi was purely asking and not answering, but it also showed that he had fought with the Fire Lion clan, so it was normal for him to have the aura of the fire lions on his body. "You captured the small fire lions? Then why would they give you their most important flowing fire god bullets?" The heaven rank spider looked at Lin Yi with ridicule. "Human cultivator, you are very dishonest. Since that's the case, I can only lock you up first. Flowing fire god bullets." Lin Yi didn't expect that the heaven rank spider would actually discover that he had the flowing fire god bullets on him. This made him very shocked. Wasn't this heaven rank spider a bit too powerful? "That's a weapon used by the Fire Lion clan to fight against us. It can break our inescapable net. How could I not be familiar with that kind of thing when you carry it on you?" The heaven rank spider's voice was somewhat cold. "Tell the truth or be locked up. You can choose for yourself. However, after being locked up by us, you might not think of you for 8 to 10 years. Whether you can persevere for that long will depend on your luck." "All right, since that's the case, I'll be straightforward." Lin Yi sighed. He originally guessed that the Spider Spirit Beast clan was definitely the Fire Lion clan's enemy, so he didn't intend to reveal his relationship with the Fire Lion clan to avoid unnecessary trouble. But now, it seemed that the heaven rank spider wasn't that easy to deceive. He had no choice but to tell the truth. Lin Yi could only tell the truth. "The reason why I didn't say it before was because I had indeed intruded into your territory by mistake. I didn't want to disturb you. I just wanted to borrow the way down the mountain. If my guess is correct, you are the Fire Lion clan's enemy in the Wulong Haut mountain range, right? Not bad." The heaven rank spider straightforwardly admitted. "I'm indeed related to the Fire Lion clan, but it's like this." After saying that, Lin Yi told the heaven rank spider about the purpose of his trip, how he joined the Tagan family's adventure guild to participate in the mission, how he became enemies with the Tagan dragon, how he secretly helped the small Fire Lion clan, how he became friends with the Fire Lion clan, how he went up the mountain to obtain a treasure, how he was attacked by the Tagan family's experts, and how he was saved by the heaven rank strange man. Naturally, Lin Yi didn't mention that he was healing the small lion and increasing its strength. Lin Yi couldn't say for the time being, especially since the heaven rank spider and the Flame Lion clan were enemies. If Lin Yi mentioned it, the heaven rank spider might do something out of anger. "That heaven rank old man is your master?" the heaven rank spider asked in a strange tone. "You are also related to that sect on the mountain." "Master, it could be considered a mistake, but we are indeed related to that sect," Lin Yi said. "You don't seem to be lying, but I can't let you go now," the heaven rank spider said. "Although I have some friendship with your master, my son is missing. I suspect that this matter was done by the Fire Lion clan, so I want to use you as a bargaining chip to exchange for my son's safety with the Fire Lion clan." "Your son? Captured by the Fire Lion clan? When did this happen?" Lin Yi suddenly froze. "About 10 days ago. The heaven rank spider didn't hide it." "Then it definitely couldn't have been done by them." Lin Yi said, "It hasn't even been 10 days since I left the Fire Lion clan's lair. I haven't seen your son. Perhaps he is imprisoned in a certain place." The heaven rank spider hesitated for a bit before saying, "That shouldn't be the case." "I don't think so. Why don't you tell me about your son? There might be some clues." Lin Yi said, "That's fine." The heaven rank spider wasn't afraid of Lin Yi stirring up trouble in its territory. "It's like this. 10 days ago, my son went to the other side of the Wulong Haut mountain range to gather a natural treasure. That place isn't our territory or the Fire Lion clan's. It's only a public area. That place produces some natural treasures every year, but the natural treasure my son gathered is only useful to our spider clan. But the Fire Lion clan also knows when it matures, and my son still hasn't returned. Moreover, the subordinates I sent to look for him haven't found any clues, so I can't help but suspect that the Fire Lion clan did this to him. Oh? Lin Yi frowned. If what the Heaven Rank Spider said was true, then the suspect might really be the Fire Lion clan. But Lin Yi felt that it should be the Fire Lion clan, or else Lin Yi wouldn't have known about it. Gigi. Just as Lin Yi was pondering with a frown, wondering how to make the spiders let them off, the Lightning Pig suddenly shouted, "Lightning Pig!" Lin Yi lowered his head to look at the Lightning Pig, but the Lightning Pig's words were clearly not directed at Lin Yi, but rather at the Heaven Rank Spider. "Oh, little thing, why are you asking if there are any more heavenly treasures?" The Heaven Rank Spider doubtfully looked at the Lightning Pig. Hearing the Heaven Rank Spider's explanation, Lin Yi slightly froze, but he instantly thought of something and said, "The Lightning Pig is also an ancient spirit beast, but its ability is to search for treasures. I wonder if you have heard of this kind of spirit beast?" "Oh, search for treasures? This kind of spirit beast really exists?" The Heaven-ranked spider looked at the Skybolt Pig in shock. But when it saw the pig nodding its head proudly, it immediately understood what the Skybolt Pig meant. "If you have the same kind of treasure, you can find my son in the same way?" The Lightning Pig nodded, but it continued to explain with a Gigi sound. It meant that it could only find this kind of heavenly treasure, but if its son wasn't with the heavenly treasure, then it would be powerless. That's already very amazing. After saying that, the Heaven Rank Spider gave a few instructions to its subordinates, and they immediately left. Not long after, they returned with a small box, and the Heaven Rank Spider had its subordinates give the small box to the Lightning Pig. The Lightning Pig used its 2 front paws to open the box and carefully sniffed the contents before walking towards the exit of the cave. However, the spider's subordinates didn't stop it. They just let it walk out of the cave. Chapter 2271. G. The Skybolt Pig called out twice in one direction, then stretched out his front paw and pointed in a direction. The Heaven Spider was a little surprised. It didn't tell Lin Yi and the others which direction the treasure was produced in, but the Skybolt Pig pointed out the general direction accurately. Therefore, at this moment, it was even more convinced that the Skybolt Pig was really capable. "Let's go and take a look together." Thinking of this, the Heaven Spider's attitude towards Lin Yi and Sun Jingy became a lot friendlier. It believed that they really wanted to help it. "Okay," Lin Yi nodded. He didn't think about escaping. After all, the so-called inescapable net of these spiders was a little scary. It was very difficult to escape from that big net. The Heaven Spider personally took a few more mystic rank spiders with Lin Yi and Sun Jingy. They quickly followed the Skybolt Pig towards the direction it pointed. Looking at the number of spiders, Lin Yi found it hard to imagine that the Fire Lion clan could actually be evenly matched with the Spider clan in a situation where the number of their clansmen was unequal. Perhaps the Spider's attack power was relatively weak, while the Fire Lion clan's attack power was relatively strong. This was also the reason why the 2 clans couldn't do anything to each other. The key was that the treasure here was limited. People of the same trade were enemies. One mountain cannot accommodate 2 tigers, so small conflicts would definitely not end. This Fire Stream God Bomb might be the weapon to break the big net, but Lin Yi only had one left. He didn't think that he could escape from the siege of so many spiders. As the Skybolt Pig walked further and further away, the Heaven Spider became more and more surprised, because the Skybolt Pig was walking towards the place where the treasure grew. But even though it was surprised, the Heaven Rank Spider became even more worried. Since the Heavenly Lightning Pig found the place where the treasure was produced, but didn't find the place where the treasure was, what was the reason? The treasure here had already been picked. Even the little spider, the son of the Heaven Spider, had disappeared. The heaven-rank spider had also sent its subordinates to search this path many times, but they couldn't find any traces of the small spider. I have already sent my subordinates to search many times on this road, but they didn't find any traces of my son, the heaven-rank spider said to the lightning pig. It was using human language so that Lin could understand it. Gee. The skybolt pig shook its head and responded to the heaven-rank spider, telling it not to be noisy and not to be impatient. A mystic late phase peak spirit beast actually dared to do this to a heaven-class spirit beast. Normally, the heaven-class spider would have been furious, but now it had no choice but to listen to the pig and wait for its next move. Skybolt pig came to the place where the heavenly treasure was produced. It was a big tree, and the fruits on it had already been plucked. However, Skybolt pig still stayed here for half a day, carefully smelling the scent of the place. Then he suddenly turned around and walked in another direction. There was a steep cliff over there. The direction that Skybolt pig went made the heaven-rank spider and Lin very confused. Could it be that the small spider fell down the cliff? But obviously this was impossible. The heaven-rank spider was the first to deny this idea. Their spider race knew how to make silk, so no matter how deep they fell, they could still make it back up. This was also why it didn't send anyone to check on the other side of the cliff. However, when Skybolt pig came to the edge of the cliff, he pointed at the bottom of the cliff and kept making GG sounds. What? You mean to say that my son fell down the cliff? The heaven-rank spider asked in confusion. GG. Skybolt pig nodded. Are you sure? The heaven-rank spider didn't really believe Skybolt pig's words. But Skybolt pig had found this place from the spider race's territory, so the heaven-rank spider couldn't help but believe that it had the ability to find treasures. GG. Skybolt pig was a little impatient this time. Okay. The heaven-rank spider nodded and said to its subordinates, Make a net. Let's go down and take a look. These spiders didn't need to make a net to go down the cliff. They could just pull a thread and go down. But Lin Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt pig couldn't. Although Lin could go down by himself with his strength, there was a ready-made cable car, so why not? The heaven-rank spider went down first, while Lin and the others sat on the big net made by the other spiders. But when they reached the bottom of the valley, they heard the heaven-rank spider scream. It was because it found a small spider in a pile of rubble. At this moment, the small spider was pressed down by a pile of rocks and couldn't move. When it saw the heaven-rank spider and the others coming to save it, it immediately cried out. This small spider didn't seem to have much strength and didn't have any attack power. But it made sense. The spiders mainly relied on making nets to trap enemies, but their strength wasn't that great. Especially the small spider, its strength was only at the early phase of the golden class, so couldn't have much strength. No wonder it couldn't get out after being pressed down by a pile of rubble. Under the command of the heaven-rank spider, the other spiders quickly moved the rubble away, and the small spider was also saved. However, the small spider's legs were injured by the rubble, so it couldn't move at the moment. And the reason why the small spider fell down the cliff was now clear. It turned out that the small spider found a treasure on the edge of the cliff and wanted to take it back. But who would have thought that the rocks on the edge of the cliff would loosen, and the small spider's silk wouldn't be able to support it. Instead, the loose rocks were pulled down, so the small spider fell down the cliff. Its body was pressed down by the rubble, and its legs were injured, so it naturally couldn't struggle out. The matter turned out to be that simple. But the spiders ignored the cliff and only searched the nearby mountain range, so they naturally couldn't find any traces of the small spider. But the heaven-rank spider glanced at the small spider picking the treasure on the edge of the cliff, and a gloomy expression flashed in its eyes, as if it was somewhat worried. Chapter 2272. The heaven-rank spider's attitude was very sincere when it said this. It looked like it was truly grateful to Lin from the bottom of its heart, but it couldn't be blamed. Its son had been missing for so many days, and had been found by the lightning pig brought by Lin Yi. How could it not be excited and happy? It's good that you found him. Lin Yi nodded and said, So, can we leave now? Of course. Any time, the heaven-rank spider said, but in order to express my gratitude, I ask you to give me a chance. Let our spider race entertain you and offer you some heaven and earth treasures. There's no need for a banquet. We don't want to stay in the mountain range for too long. If possible, it would be better to leave as soon as possible. Lin Yi waved his hand. He wasn't interested in the spider race's hospitality, but he was interested in the heaven and earth treasures. I don't think you are in a hurry, right? Moreover, if you don't want to go through the mountain range's main path and instead want to go down the mountain, then our spider race can still help you. The heaven-rank spider said, Apart from the main path, the other paths are incomparably dangerous. If you are careless, you might die without a burial. Oh, Lin Yi frowned and looked at the heaven-rank spider. So you have a good method. Yes, we are very familiar with the terrain of the Wulong Haut mountain range. Apart from the main path, there is only one path down the mountain, but it is very difficult to find. This route down the mountain is only known to our spider race. We can help you draw up a simple route map. With our route map, you can take fewer detours and avoid unnecessary danger. The heaven-rank spider explained, I can't say that it will be smooth, but it will at least minimize the risk. Since that's the case, then it will be troublesome. Seeing the enthusiasm of the heaven-rank spider, Lin Yi couldn't refuse, especially since it had a map. This would reduce Lin Yi's troubles, and Lin Yi and son, Jingyi, would also be able to avoid some danger when going down the mountain. But at this time, a few of the spider subordinates that were inspecting the small spider's injuries worriedly whispered a few words to the heaven-rank spider. The heaven-rank spider's expression suddenly became unsightly. What's wrong? Lin Yi couldn't understand their language. My son's leg is very serious. He might not be able to recover in the future. The heaven-rank spider sighed and said, But this is already very good. At least we found him and saved him. I am already very satisfied. I don't know what would happen if he fell into the hands of the Fire Line clan. Maybe I can have a way. Lin Yi said after some hesitation. After all, the heaven-rank spider didn't seem that difficult to get along with, and it even gave Lin Yi a treasure and a map. This made Lin Yi feel that he should repay them. After all, he was the one who intruded into their territory, so he couldn't be blamed for catching him. What? You have a way. The heaven-rank spider was stunned and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. The injuries of spirit beasts are different from human cultivators. They can't be healed by eating elixirs. Elixirs are useful for human cultivators, but their effects are negligible for us spirit beasts. Naturally, it's not elixirs. Lin Yi said, Let me do it. After saying that, Lin Yi walked towards the small spider. As for the spider subordinates, they were somewhat on guard when they saw Lin Yi walking over. But seeing that the heaven-rank spider didn't stop him, they naturally didn't stop him. Lin Yi walked in front of the small spider, placed his hand on its body, and circulated the second layer of the art of dragon mastery. The small spider naturally knew that Lin Yi was one of the people who helped it discover, so it didn't resist. It only listened to Lin Yi's words and had some doubts in its heart. However, the next moment, a warm current flowed from Lin Yi's palm into its body, surprising the small spider, and its injuries were miraculously recovering at a speed that it could feel. It was really recovering. The heaven-rank spider was naturally a discerning person. Seeing that its son's injuries were recovering, its gaze towards Lin Yi became even more respectful and grateful. This human cultivator was really different from the rest. On the other hand, Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig had indifferent expressions, especially Skybolt Pig. Although he wasn't as powerful as the heaven-rank spider and didn't dare to act rashly, he still looked at it with a very proud expression. It's done. Lin Yi stood up and said straightforwardly, That's it. The heaven-rank spider's eyes widened. Although it saw that the small spider's injuries were getting better, it couldn't be that fast, right? Wasn't the speed a bit too shocking? However, Lin Yi didn't answer. The small spider's actions had already answered the question. The small spider could walk normally, and it looked like it had never been injured. Many thanks, human cultivator. Although the heaven-rank spider was grateful to Lin Yi, it wasn't that it didn't hold a grudge against him. The good relationship between Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan made it a little uncomfortable. But now it didn't care whether Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan had a good relationship. This was because Lin Yi was a great benefactor to the Spider Clan. You are a great benefactor to our Spider Clan. My son and I will never forget it. If you need anything in the future, just say the word. Lin Yi shrugged. The Fire Lion clan had made a similar promise to Lin Yi. He didn't expect the Spider Clan to make a similar promise to Lin Yi. However, the spirit beasts of these two clans were mortal enemies, which gave Lin Yi a headache. But Lin Yi didn't want to get involved in the grievances between them. A mountain couldn't accommodate two tigers. Everyone understood this principle, especially when spirit beasts were scarce in cultivation resources. There was no possibility of resolving the conflict between the two clans. Making them sit down and divide the resources was a very difficult matter. Are you having a headache about the relationship between our Spider Clan and the Fire Lion clan? The heaven-rank spider seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's thoughts and asked, Yes, you are all my friends now. Lin Yi nodded. It is normal for spirit beasts in the same mountain range to compete with each other. This has been the case since ancient times. The heaven-rank spider explained with a smile. Only competition can promote the continuous development and cultivation of our two clans. If we really divided the cultivation resources, then our days would be easy and we wouldn't have to cultivate so hard. Chapter 2273. We spirit beasts have our own set of survival rules. The heaven-rank spider said, Although the Fire Lion clan and I are enemies now, if there are other spirit beasts that want to occupy the Wulong Hout mountain range and get a share, our two clans will join hands to expel the other spirit beasts. I was thinking too much. Lin Yi nodded. Benefactor of human cultivators, how should I address you? The heaven-rank spider asked. My name is Lin Yi. This is my female companion, Sun Jingyi. This little thing is called Skybolt Pig. Lin Yi introduced Sun Jingyi's identity in front of the heaven-rank spider as his companion. He didn't say that she was his wife because there was no need to lie to it. Mr. Lin, Miss Sun, shall we go back now? I will prepare a sumptuous banquet for you and offer our Spider Clan's treasures. The heaven-rank spider said, Since the Fire Lion clan gave you their treasure, the Flaming God Bomb, then our Spider Clan will not show weakness. We will also give you our most valuable treasure. Oh, the Spider Clan's most valuable treasure? Lin Yi was slightly surprised. The heaven-rank spider's attitude towards him was obviously different. Previously, it only said that it would give him a heavenly treasure, but now it wanted to give him the Spider Clan's most valuable treasure. Of course, Lin Yi also understood that this was definitely because he had saved the little spider. That was why the heaven-rank spider was so generous. There was no such thing as an undeserved reward, but Lin Yi had done a meritorious deed, so he wouldn't refuse. This is the most valuable treasure we used to capture you, the inescapable net. The heaven-rank spider said, This kind of inescapable net is something that many spiders of our Spider Clan spun together for a long time to weave. However, I can grit my teeth and give you 3. The heaven-rank spider said 3 was naturally referring to the 3 flaming god bombs that the Fire Lion clan gave to Lin Yi. If the Fire Lion clan could take it out, then they naturally wouldn't be outdone. As for the Fire Lion clan swallowing Lin Yi's frenzy fist, it could still make a flaming god bomb for a period of time. The heaven-rank spider naturally couldn't compare. 3 inescapable nets was already his limit, and this was even after going all out and taking out all of his family's wealth. Their Spider Clan didn't have the ability to swallow the frenzied fire fist to create a large web. Thinking about it, Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan were really fated. Fortunately, Lin Yi and the spider race were friends, so it was impossible for him to stay with the big Fire Lion indefinitely. Otherwise, the great Fire Lion could use Lin Yi's frenzied fire fist to create stream of inferno bombs, although it would take a long time to create each time. But this time was enough to make it much faster than if Lin Yi were to settle in the Wulonghao mountain range for a long time. Then the Fire Lion clan would probably make more fire stream bombs. At that time, the number of inescapable net on his side would not be able to keep up, and the Spider Clan would suffer a loss. But Lin Yi had received benefits from the spider race, and it looked like Lin Yi wouldn't stay in the Wulonghao mountain range for a long time, so the Heaven Rank Spider was very relieved. This inescapable net is very strange. Naturally, Lin Yi knew about the large net that he had been caught in. That large net was extremely tough. With Lin Yi's ability, he would not be able to withstand it. It could not be destroyed in the slightest. Not bad, the Heaven Rank Spider proudly said. The Fire Lion clan is an attack-type spirit beast. It's a huge blow to our Spider Clan. Therefore, in order to defend against their attacks when they are picking the treasures, we can use the inescapable net to trap them. In this way, they won't be able to break free in a short period of time. What about in the short term? In other words, it's possible to break free? Lin Yi asked. Of course. The great flame lion's breath and the little flame lion's flaming divine bullets can destroy the inescapable net. But it will take some time. This time is enough for us to escape back. The Heaven Rank Spider said, It's near our cave. The Fire Lion clan wouldn't come to our cave and attack us for no reason. That's right, there's an ancient restriction formation here. Lin Yi nodded. The Fire Lion clan's cave also had an ancient restriction. It seemed that these spirit beasts had their own trump cards. Then, can my flaming divine bullets also destroy this inescapable net? Lin Yi asked. Apart from that, is there no other way to destroy this inescapable net? Your flaming divine bullets naturally can, the Heaven Rank Spider replied. But it's not that other people don't have a way. They can destroy the inescapable net by constantly activating martial skills or using weapons infused with true energy. However, even a Heaven Rank expert needs a certain amount of time to destroy this inescapable net. I understand. This is a magic weapon that can tie up the enemy in an instant, but it's a one-time use item and can't be recycled. Lin Yi understood the use of this thing. It had to be said that this thing was the same as the flaming divine bullets. It was an excellent life-saving trump card. If Lin Yi had this thing earlier, he wouldn't have been in such a difficult situation when fighting against the Great Protector. He could have directly used the net to trap him. At that time, he could have used true energy bombs and flaming divine bullets to bombard him. Then he could have escaped with Sun Jingyi and wouldn't have been injured. That's it, the Heaven Rank Spider said. Currently, we only have these 3 pieces of the inescapable net. So, Mr. Lin, please don't think that we are stingy. Of course not. Lin, he was too happy. For him, treating the small spider was a piece of cake. The Skybolt Pig helped the Heaven Rank Spider find the small spider in order to get rid of the suspicion and leave this place. Therefore, these 3 pieces of the inescapable net were free. Thank you for your understanding, benefactor, the Heaven Rank Spider said. As they talked, they returned to the Spider Clan's cave. The Heaven Rank Spider ordered the other spiders to prepare a banquet while it accompanied Lin Yi to chat with the small spider in the cave. Lin Yi looked at the 3 exquisite, small nets in his hand. It was hard to imagine that this was the big net that had caught them before. However, this thing would only expand when it was in use. Normally, it was only the size of a small piece and could be carried at any time. After carefully asking about the method to use it, Lin Yi carefully put it away. This was a great thing. Lin Yi's harvest from this trip to the Wulonghao mountain range was quite plentiful. Mr. Lin, Although the gift I took out might be a bit light, but I still have a very important news to tell you as a token of our spider clan's gratitude. The heaven rank spider pondered for a long time before deciding to tell this news. Oh, what news? Linny asked. Chapter 2274. Heavenly Tao. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't the first time he heard of this term. There should be a higher realm above sky class. This realm might be the legendary Heavenly Tao, but at least among the people Lin Yi had met, there wasn't a Heavenly Tao master. But no didn't mean it didn't exist. Things were often like this. If you didn't stand at a certain height, you wouldn't be able to come into contact with things at that height. Just like Lin Yi in the past, the noble houses were all high and mighty existences in front of Lin Yi. A secular house you once made Lin Yi embarrassed. When he first knew about the secular noble houses, how could Lin Yi have thought that there were hidden noble houses above the noble houses? When Lin Yi came into contact with the hidden noble houses and sects, Lin Yi realized that there were ancient noble houses and ancient sects above them. This was like a normal person who might never come into contact with a cultivator in his lifetime. Those golden class masters who acted as bodyguards for the rich. If they were just bodyguards, they might never come into contact with noble houses and mystic class masters. The logic was the same. The higher one stood, the farther one could see. That's right, but I don't know if there are higher realms above sky class. The heaven spider said, human cultivators are different from spiritual beasts. At least, I don't know if spiritual beasts have broken through sky class and entered the heavenly Tao. Then you mean that you know about human cultivators and the heavenly Tao? Lin Yi asked. The topic of the heaven spider was quite attractive to Lin Yi. That's right. You guys have some connection with the upper sect. I won't hide it from you guys. In the upper sect, there was a master at the peak of the late stage of sky class, infinitely close to the legendary barrier. The heaven spider said, and he, after that, went to pursue the heavenly Tao, the master of the fire lion. Lin Yi heard the fire lion mention this person. You know about it too? The heaven spider was a bit surprised. It didn't expect the fire lion clan to tell Lin Yi this. Yes, I heard. After he pursued the heavenly Tao, his whereabouts are unknown. Lin Yi nodded. It's not that I don't know where he ended up, but he went to another place, a legendary place where one can break through the barrier of peak late stage of heaven rank, said the heaven rank spider. You know where he went. Lin Yi's expression froze as he asked. It seemed that the heaven rank spider knew more than the big fire lion. What was going on? I don't know where he went, but I know how he went. The heaven rank spider said. Our spider race helped him in this matter. You? Help him? Lin Yi's eyes widened. Isn't that person the great fire lion's contract owner? You and the fire lion clan are enemies, and he and you. Is it strange? The heaven rank spider looked at Lin Yi strangely. The Fire Lion clan owes him a favor, so the great Fire Lion became his contracted spirit beast. He also owes us a favor, so our relationship is very good, just like Mr. Lin's relationship with us and the Fire Lion clan. Oh, that's true. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't expect the previous one to be in the same situation. Then how did he go there? A teleportation array. The Heaven Rank Spider said. Legend says that it can reach a place called Heaven Island. There, one can advance to the Heavenly Tao. Heaven Island. Lin Yi frowned. Do you know the location of this teleportation array? I do. The Heaven Rank Spider nodded. Legend has it that there are 2 ways to reach the Heaven Rank Island. One is a secret manual that records a method to construct a teleportation array that can reach the Heaven Rank Island. As for the other method, I'm not too sure. It seems that it requires a group of people to go to a place to open something. Build a teleportation array? You're not trying to tell me that someone built a teleportation array here, are you? In this ancient sect? Lin, he was very shocked. He didn't expect that the Woolenhate mountain range, which had been turned into ashes, still hid such a huge secret. That's right. The Heaven Rank Spider said with certainty. This array was created by the founder of this sect. Legend says that it can be used 3 times. He used it once, and that person who is the contracted master of the Great Fire Lion used it once. Now he should be able to use it again. Hiss! Lin sucked in a breath of cold air. Only 3 times. Moreover, he was actually so lucky to find this teleportation array. We are from the Spider Clan. Back then, we were also a spirit beast clan that helped the founder build the teleportation array. The Heaven Rank Spider said, Actually, I am the contracted spirit beast of the founder of this sect. I'm going to faint. Lin, he felt like his brain had short-circuited. The Heaven Rank Spider was actually the contracted spirit beast of the founder of this sect? How long had it lived for? Plus, it and the Fire Lion clan, the contracted spirit beast of the future sect master, were enemies? Weird, right? The Heaven Rank Spider smiled. This secret is actually only known by me and the Fire Lion clan. Even the successors of this sect don't know about it. Then why are you guys fighting each other? Lin, he didn't understand. In theory, aren't you guys from the same family? I've explained it before. Competition is the only way to stimulate everyone's passion for training. The spider said, Don't even talk about us. Even the disciples of the same sect compete with each other? Even the disciples of the same family. Don't they compete with each other? Aren't they from the same family? That's true. Lin imagined Yu Bing and Yu Shan, Zhao Qibing and Zhao Qikuan, and it was true. Our bottom line is that we can fight each other, but we can't kill each other. The Heaven Rank Spider said. Otherwise, although our spider race has the advantage in numbers, it wouldn't be too hard for the Fire Lion race to exterminate us. Other than me, it's easy for them to deal with the other spiders. Even so, we still have a lot of injuries. But we still have a knack for healing these kinds of injuries, so we won't be crippled. Chapter 2275. If we can stop them, we will, but if we can't, we won't force our way out. The Heaven Rank Spider said, This is also the ancestral teaching that my master left for me. The Big Flame Lion's side is probably the same. After all, our 2 spirit beast clans only have 2 Heaven Rank spirit beasts. We can't contend against a large number of Heaven Rank human cultivators. If we can't do it, we will naturally protect ourselves. Our Spider Clan's duty is to wait for a peak Heaven Rank Great Perfection Stage expert to appear in this sect and tell him the secret of the teleportation array. That's all. Then tell me now, wouldn't that violate your master's agreement? Lin asked. This sect is already gone. Moreover, you have some relationship with this sect, so telling you naturally wouldn't be violating the agreement. The Heaven Rank Spider said. Lin nodded and sighed. An ancient sect was actually destroyed in an instant. Do you know who the enemy is? I'm not sure. The Heaven Rank Spider shook its head and said, The enemy is very strong, and there are many Heaven Rank experts. An innocent man's wealth is his own ruin. Lin sighed. For so-called treasure, they actually made such a big fuss. Lin originally wanted to inquire about Faubert's enemies. But now it seemed that even the Big Flame Lion and the Heaven Rank Spider were confused. Treasure. Naturally, that's the reason. But what they're looking for isn't the treasure. The spider's words shocked Lin making him jump in fright. It's not a treasure. Lin was surprised. You can say that, but you can also say that it isn't. The Heaven Rank Spider said, This sect has 2 people pursuing the heavenly Tao, so it naturally attracted the greed of some forces. According to what I heard from those people, they heard that this sect has something that can help them break through the Heaven Rank and pursue the heavenly Tao, so they came to snatch it. But the treasure in your hands is being treated as something that can help them break through the Heaven Rank and pursue the heavenly Tao. Treated as something? Lin frowned. After carefully pondering over the heaven-rank spider's words, he suddenly understood a few things. They are actually looking for that teleportation array, right? It's just that they don't know that there's a teleportation array here, and they think that the treasure is a treasure that can help them break through the heavenly rank and step into the heavenly Tao. That's it. The spider nodded. That treasure is indeed a treasure. It can provide pure chi to human cultivators, but I'm not sure if it can help a peak late phase heaven stage cultivator enter the heavenly Tao. But this treasure was discovered by this sect in the last few decades, so it's impossible for it to be something that those people are imagining. So it's a big misunderstanding. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Faubert was really unlucky. He made a treasure and caused others to misunderstand. It can't be considered a mistake. After all, the value of this treasure is immeasurable, said the heaven-rank spider. You're right, Lin Yi said in agreement. Lin Yi knew the benefits of his jade pendant space, although this strange white stone couldn't be compared with the jade pendant space. But if he took it out alone, it was still a very rare treasure in the world. Sun Jingyi quietly listened to the conversation between Lin Yi and the heaven-rank spider. Her heart was in turmoil. These things were too shocking. It was simply unimaginable. However, Lin Yi didn't seem to be on guard against her at all. Heaven stage, heavenly Tao, although these things were very far away from Sun Jingyi was also a cultivator. She naturally understood the significance of these things. If the news spread, it would probably set off a storm, a legend. It could destroy an ancient sect. If they actually found the teleportation array, then it was really hard to say what kind of consequences it would bring. Was this trust in her? The corner of Jingyi's lips curled up into an inexplicable smile as she watched Lin Yi talking to the sky-class spider. She raised her eyebrows as well. There was a strange feeling in her heart. Did he really think of her as one of his own? After knowing so many of his secrets, would she always stay by his side in the future? However, thinking of the fierce competition for the girlfriend position around Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi was a little conflicted. Be it Song Lingshan or Yushu, they were all waiting in line, right? However, take this treasure back and don't spread it around. Otherwise, it will cause a lot of trouble. The heaven-rank spider reminded. Of course, even you and the Fire Lion clan couldn't fight against this force. I'd better be careful. Lin Yi said in deep thought. After fighting with the Grand Guardian, Lin Yi had this thought. Then I won't say more. The heaven-rank spider nodded. Aren't you anxious to know where the teleportation array is? What's the use of being anxious? I can't do anything if you don't bring me there. Lin Yi shrugged. It's not a problem to bring you there, but with your current strength, it's best not to use the teleportation array. Let's not talk about the unknown dangers that might appear at the teleportation location. The energy produced by the teleportation array can't be endured by anyone below sky class, the heaven-rank spider explained. I understand. I'm just curious. I'm not that overconfident, Lin Yi smiled. With my strength, isn't going to sky class island the same as suicide? The teleportation array is at the other end of the mountain stream. It's not easy for us spiders to cross. We have to draw silk one by one. You won't be able to cross it with your current strength, the heaven-rank spider said. If you want to take a look, I'll bring some people to draw a silk bridge. It'll take about one night. You can go and take a look tomorrow. Then I'll trouble you, Lin Yi said. It's nothing, it's within my ability, the heaven-rank spider said. At this time, the spider subordinates had already prepared a sumptuous banquet. The wine was fruit wine that they brewed themselves. It was said that there were heavenly treasures added to it. It was very beneficial for cultivation. The food was also natural fruits. It was similar to what they ate at the Fire Lion's territory. Lin Yi wasn't polite. After eating a big meal with Sun Jingyi, the heaven-rank spider gave the cave to Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and the skybolt pig to rest. It then led its spider subordinates and even the small spiders to build a silk bridge for Lin Yi. Chapter 2276. Benefactor! Our spider clan will need to weave the silk bridge through the night. It should be done in one night, the spider said. The heaven-rank spider said, You can rest here tonight. No one or spirit, beast, will break through the ancient restriction and disturb you. All right, thanks for the trouble, Lin Yi said. It's not that troublesome. In order to repay a favor, the spider shook its head and smiled. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. After all, he was quite curious about the teleportation circle, and it would be troublesome for the spider clan to make the silk bridge in order to satisfy his curiosity. Right, although there are ancient restrictions in the cave, there aren't any outside. If you want to go out at night, you should be careful. The spider reminded, We're not here, so we're afraid that your enemies will take advantage of this. I have 1,000 silk mask here. After wearing it, you'll look completely different. If you want to go to the toilet or something, it's best to wear the mask, and if someone asks, just say that you're a guest of our spider clan. The spider clan and the fire lion clan have always had grudges, and if it's someone from the Tagan clan, they'll definitely know about this. Seeing that you're unfamiliar and our guests, they won't do anything to you. Thank you very much. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel grateful for the spider's thoughtfulness. If he and Sun Jingyi were the spider clan's guests, then it definitely wouldn't be the Zhang Naipeo, who had a relationship with the Fire Line clan. Plus, their appearances were different, so they wouldn't look into it. It was just that Lin Yi was a bit curious as to what that 1,000 silk mask was. What's that mask you're talking about? This mask is a special treasure that our spider clan can make. It's just that it's very difficult to make, and it requires 2 spiders above the sky class to make it. It also requires a lot of external conditions and materials, so we only have one in stock. The spider said, Only one of you can use it. With that, the spider took out 1,000 silk mask and gave it to Lin Yi. This is it. Lin Yi looked at the thin mask in the heaven-rank spider's hand and was somewhat amazed. That thing looked like a transparent silicone mask, but after touching it, it felt smooth and silky, just like human skin. It felt very good. Yes, give it a try. The heaven-rank spider nodded. Lin Yi didn't try it. Instead, he directly put the 1,000 silk mask on Sun Jingyi's face. Sure enough, Sun Jingyi suddenly turned into another person, completely different from her previous image. Even Lin Yi, who was extremely familiar with her, couldn't recognize who she was at this moment. This was really a good treasure, and it was perfect for disguising himself. So magical? Lin Yi said in surprise. Can this mask change its appearance? No, the appearance of this mask is fixed. You can't change it according to your own imagination. The heaven-rank spider shook its head and said, I have heard of a mask that can change one's appearance according to one's imagination, but I don't know how to make it. So that's how it is, but this is already very good. Lin Yi said, Your spider race only has one such precious item. I'm a bit embarrassed to ask for it. Hee, it's useless for our spider race to keep this mask. We don't need to change our appearance. The heaven-rank spider said, My previous contracted master and the second person who passed through this teleportation array also don't need this thing. So I'm giving it to you, benefactor. Then I won't refuse. Lin Yi no longer declined and accepted the mask. This was indeed a good thing. Lin Yi really couldn't refuse. I'm done. I have to take my people to work. See you tomorrow morning, Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin, the heaven-rank spider said. See you tomorrow morning. Lin Yi nodded. After the heaven-rank spider left with its subordinates, Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi also went to sleep. The heaven-rank spider had prepared a bed in the cave, so they didn't have to worry about not having a place to sleep. Jingyi was tired as well and soon fell asleep. Lin Yi, on the other hand, went into the jade space to continue his training. Ever since leaving the big flame lion's nest, Lin Yi had been worried, afraid that the Great Protectors group would come looking for trouble. And that night, Lin Yi's group slept very soundly. They didn't need to worry about enemies invading, nor did they need to worry about any accidents happening. Although Lin Yi was also inside the jade space and was using his mind power to sense the surroundings, it was a lot more relaxed compared to the previous few nights. Sun Jingyi slept very well, and the Skybolt pig also slept very soundly. When the man and the beast woke up, the sky was already gray. It was dawn. Full. Sun Jingyi stretched, but didn't get up. Instead, she laid on the mattress and looked at Lin Yi lazily. She had a natural charm. I slept very soundly. I haven't slept this soundly in a long time. Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi. Her current appearance was the most seductive. This woman had an indescribable charm. Her casual movements could tug at a man's heartstrings, and people couldn't help but want to push her down. There really wasn't a woman like this around Lin Yi. The mist was a bit cold. Shu and Xiao Xiao were a bit crazy. Wang Xinyan was a bit quiet, and Ling Shan was a bit fiery. On the other hand, Sun Jingyi had an indescribable charm. No wonder Wu Qintian was so infatuated with her. If Lin Yi didn't have enough willpower, he would have fallen for her already. Lin Yi didn't mind having something happen with Sun Jingyi, but now wasn't a good time. Can you not tempt me like this? Lin Yi's eyes swept across Sun Jingyi's beautiful figure and said faintly, Tempt? Are you that easily tempted? Sun Jingyi smiled faintly. The first time I saw you, I asked you for help. You seemed to have a strong willpower, and you didn't get blinded by beauty at all. People change, Lin Yi said. Recently my willpower hasn't been good. Maybe it's because Xiao Xiao left. Let's not talk about this. Sun Jingyi didn't hate this ambiguous topic, but she was afraid that Lin Yi would bring up Xiao Xiao and Tang Yin. This was a taboo topic, so Sun Jingyi didn't say much. What time is it? Chapter 2277. Let's go out and take a look? I guess the spider race is almost done? Sun Jingyi said, It should be almost done. Lin Yi nodded and left the spider's cave with Sun Jingyi. However, what made Lin Yi feel strange was that there was no spider at the entrance of the spider's cave. It wasn't strange that there were no spiders guarding the entrance because there were ancient restrictions in the cave, so there was no need to worry about external enemies invading. However, it was strange that there wasn't even a spider waiting to inform them. Although the heaven rank spider said that it would help Lin Yi weave a silk bridge last night, the entire spider race had been dispatched. With so many spiders, how could it not be finished in one night? How big of a project was this? Besides, even if it wasn't finished, it was already dawn. The heaven rank spider should have sent a spider back to inform Lin Yi, right? Now there was not a single spider. What was the situation? Thinking of this, Lin Yi frowned. He suddenly had a bad premonition. Could it be that something went wrong? After carefully looking around the surroundings, Lin Yi didn't find any abnormalities, and there were no traces of fighting. In fact, Lin Yi was just taking a look. If something really happened here last night, it was impossible for Lin Yi, who was cultivating in the space of the jade pendant, to not notice it at all. Why is there not a single spider? Sun Jingyi also noticed something was wrong and asked curiously, I'm afraid something went wrong. Lin Yi didn't know where the sky moat mountain stream was. The heaven rank spider didn't explain in detail last night, and Lin Yi didn't ask. After all, he knew that the heaven rank spider would take him there, so he naturally wouldn't ask those meaningless questions. But now, there wasn't even a direction. It can't be, right? Isn't this their territory? How could there be a mistake? Moreover, even if there was a mistake, it's impossible that there isn't a single spider, right? Sun Jingyi said curiously, I don't know yet. I have a bad feeling in my heart. I keep feeling that something is going to happen, Lin Yi said. Is it because there isn't a single spider that you feel that something is wrong? That's true. Sun Jingyi nodded. Could it be because the silk bridge hasn't been built yet, so they are working overtime? We can't rule out that possibility. After all, Lin Yi did not understand the habits of spirit beasts. Perhaps the spider spirit beast was the kind of spirit beast that was more rigorous and would not stop until it was done. "Shall we wait then?" Sun Jingyi asked. "That's the only way," Lin Yi said. Just like that, the two of them and Skybolt Pig waited at the entrance of the cave. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed. Lin Yi's heart grew heavier and heavier. He felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Although he didn't know what the problem was, it was definitely not normal. Seeing that Lin Yi's expression was getting heavier and heavier, Sun Jingyi couldn't help but ask, "Is there a problem?" Who knows? Lin Yi didn't expect that there would be a problem. Perhaps there really is an accident. The Spider Clan doesn't seem like spirit beasts that don't keep their promises. Moreover, if they didn't keep their promises, there was no need for them to tell us about these things. They could have just not said anything yesterday. We will leave today. There's no need for them to disappear. Then, what should we do now? Sun Jingyi nodded and asked in agreement. "Skybolt Pig, can you find out where the spiders went?" Lin Yi turned his head and looked at Skybolt Pig. He could only place his hopes on Skybolt Pig. Rar. Skybolt Pig nodded to indicate that he could. He had already remembered the smell of the Spider Clan. As long as they didn't go beyond a certain range, he would be able to find them. "Okay, bring us to them now." Lin Yi immediately made a decision. Rar. Skybolt Pig ran in front, while Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi followed behind. They headed in the opposite direction of the valley where they picked the herbs yesterday. Skybolt Pig was heading towards the dark side of the Wulong Haut mountain range. There were fewer types of plants, and the road was easy to walk on. However, Lin Yi's heart was filled with vigilance. He was always on guard against any accidents. However, it was very quiet along the way. There were no spirit beasts, no signs of human activity, and no unexpected accidents. Soon, a magnificent silk bridge made of spider silk appeared in front of Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi from afar. The silk bridge went through the two sides of a mountain stream. It was obvious that the Spider Clan had finished weaving the silk bridge. However, this situation made Lin Yi feel even more strange. Where did all the spiders go? The silk bridge was here, but not a single spider could be seen. This strange situation made one's hair stand on end. It was too strange and too scary. Lin Yi didn't rush forward recklessly. Instead, he stopped in his tracks and carefully sensed the reaction of the jade pendant. If he continued forward and the jade pendant gave him a warning, it would be too late, like when he was caught by the huge net. After all, the situation in the Wulong Haut mountain range was special. Knowing the danger didn't mean that one could avoid it, just like the spider's inescapable net. Even if Lin Yi received a warning from the jade pendant, he would have enough time to react. However, the huge net was different from normal dangers. Not only could it expand, it could also shrink, making it impossible for people to defend against it. Therefore, this time, Lin Yi learned to be smart. He decided to wait and see. "It seems like there isn't any danger." Lin Yi touched his chin. His expression was a little strange. In fact, he didn't quite believe it himself. There was no danger here at all. After all, the situation at this time had exceeded Lin Yi's imagination. Sun Jingyi was silent. She didn't have the right to speak because she had zero experience in this situation. It wasn't good for her to casually answer and affect Lin Yi's judgment. Let's take a look first. Lin Yi could only walk in the direction of the silk bridge. To be honest, Lin Yi could totally turn around and leave now, but he couldn't resist the curiosity in his heart. Let's not talk about where the spiders went. The mysterious teleportation array that led to the Heaven Stage Island also made Lin Yi very curious. And Sun Jingyi was also a little curious. Although her cultivation path was different from others, the legendary threshold that could break through the Heaven Stage and step into the Heaven Path was enough to arouse her strong curiosity and desire. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi reached an agreement. They moved forward again and came to the edge of the silk bridge. There was no accident. The jade pendant on Lin Yi's chest was also calm. However, the more it was so, the more uneasy Lin Yi's heart was. Chapter 2278. But the silk bridge had been built and the spider race had disappeared. I'll go take a look first. You wait for me here. If the situation is not good, take the skybolt pig and run back to the cave. I'll also give you these 3 inescapable nets. Lin Yi said as he gave the inescapable nets that the heaven-rank spider had given him to Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi didn't want Lin Yi to take the risk. But after coming here, Lin Yi wouldn't be willing to leave without taking a look. Therefore, Sun Jingyi hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Okay, you go, but be careful. Lin Yi nodded with a smile and jumped onto the silk bridge. Although the silk bridge looked a bit like walking on a tightrope, it wasn't difficult for a cultivator like Lin Yi. Moreover, the silk bridge wasn't long and the mountain stream could be seen at a glance. On the bridge, Lin Yi walked forward slowly as if he was walking on thin ice, paying attention to the jade's reaction as well. What made Lin Yi pleasantly surprised and regretful was that when he reached the other side of the mountain stream, the jade pendant didn't have any reaction. In other words, Lin Yi didn't encounter any danger. However, the more it was like this, the more Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. There was no danger, so where did the spider race go? Wasn't this a bit unreasonable? No problem. Lin Yi waved his hand at Sun Jingyi and then quickly walked back along the silk bridge. Lin Yi could smoothly cross, but it didn't mean that Sun Jingyi could. Although Sun Jingyi was also a cultivator, she was a very different kind of cultivator. In fact, she didn't have any strength. This silk bridge was a bit difficult for her, so Lin Yi had to support her. After returning to the silk bridge, Lin Yi had a better understanding of its sturdiness. Although it looked very thin, it was very sturdy. Therefore he, Sun Jingyi, and the skybolt pig had no problem getting on the silk bridge. This bridge looks a bit scary. You have to support me. I'll definitely die if I fall. Sun Jingyi looked at the bottomless mountain stream and said with a guilty conscience, Even if you can heal, I won't be able to survive if I fall and turn into a meat patty. Then you can hold me. I won't die if I fall, but it will be hard to get up. Lin Yi looked at the bottom of the mountain stream. He didn't lie to Sun Jingyi. This mountain stream was very steep. Even if Lin Yi fell, it wouldn't be easy for him to get back up. Lin Yi couldn't jump so high. Even if it was divided into multiple jumps, it still wouldn't work. This cliff was very steep, and it wouldn't be easy to find a foothold. It wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't too high, but it was too deep. Unless Lin Yi could fly, he wouldn't be able to get up. Then it's better not to fall. Sun Jingyi said, If we fall, we'll be savages for the rest of our lives. However, as she said this, Sun Jingyi suddenly had a very strange feeling in her heart. If she and Lin Yi fell together, would they be considered a husband and wife, and then stay together for the rest of their lives? Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't say anything. He carried Jingyi in his arms while she was thinking about the problem, taking big steps towards the bridge. Lin Yi didn't have any problems with his balance, not to mention carrying Sun Jingyi, even if he was carrying a heavier object. As long as the silk bridge could withstand it, Lin Yi would have no problem crossing it. The skybolt pig was small and very agile, so crossing the silk bridge wasn't a problem. Soon, 2 people and 1 beast arrived at the opposite side of the silk bridge. Lin Yi also put Sun Jingyi down, but Sun Jingyi was a little embarrassed to be carried by Lin Yi. She glanced at Lin Yi, but didn't say anything, because Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi's face had become serious, so she didn't joke anymore. What's wrong? There are traces of battle here. Lin Yi pointed at some marks on the ground and said to Sun Jingyi, Could it be that the spider clan met their enemies here and something happened? Here? Sun Jingyi lowered her head and carefully looked at the direction that Lin Yi pointed. Sure enough, she saw some messy footprints on the ground, as well as some withered grass that had been burned by fire, so she said, The Fire Lion clan? They came here? It's hard to say. Lin stood up and said, "Let's go forward and see. I don't know what the situation is here, but if there was a battle, we didn't find any corpses of spirit beasts. Yes, this platform doesn't look big. Besides the cave, not far away, there is no other way to go. It's clear at a glance. If a battle happened here, then where did the spider clan go after the battle?" Sun Jingyi said strangely, "Let's go inside the cave." Lin raised his head and looked at the cave, then said, "If my guess is correct, that cave should be the location of the teleportation formation. Let's go and take a look first." Sun Jingyi and Lin walked towards the cave together. They could see the situation inside clearly by standing at the entrance of the cave. The cave wasn't big, so they could see the whole inside at a glance. There were no spirit beasts in the cave, and it was quiet. In other words, there were no spirit beasts on this platform, including the cave. It seems that things are really strange. Lin pondered for a moment, then said, "There are so many spiders. Even if there was a conflict with the Fire Lion clan, it's impossible for all of them to disappear. Could they have been captured by the Fire Lion clan?" Sun Jingyi guessed. "That's not possible, right? Even if the Fire Lion clan has the advantage of offensive attributes, it would be difficult to capture so many spiders." Lin shook his head and denied this idea. 3 fire lions and the number of spiders simply weren't equal. Lin believed that they could kill all of these spiders, but capturing all of them wouldn't be that easy. It was almost impossible. In any case, let's take a look inside the cave first. Lin said. Lin and Sun Jingyi entered the cave. There was actually nothing special inside the cave. What made Lin curious was the teleportation formation. Lin wasn't too sure because he only saw a few stones on the ground forming a strange symbol. He didn't know if it was the teleportation formation that the heaven rank spider mentioned. As for how to activate it, Lin didn't know, and he didn't dare to casually try. Lin could only take out his phone and take a picture of the situation inside the cave. He was going to take it back and study it carefully when he had the chance. Chapter 2279. It should be. Lin shrugged. Other than that, I really don't know what else is special about this cave. Sun Jingyi carefully looked around the cave, but she really didn't see anything special, other than the pile of strange stones on the ground. There was nothing else that could be called a teleportation array. Is it really here? Sun Jingyi looked at the stones on the ground suspiciously. Why does it feel like it's broken? That I don't know. Lin was just guessing. It's really strange. Sun Jingyi frowned. Let's leave this place first. Lin looked around and his curiosity was satisfied. He found that this place was just SOSO, so he wasn't interested in staying any longer. Sun Jingyi naturally didn't have any objections. On the way back, Lin still hugged her, which made Sun Jingyi's heart ripple again. Skybolt Pig. Do you know where the spiders went? This was almost the end of the mountain range. Lin couldn't see the spiders, so he could only pin his hope on Skybolt Pig. Gee. Skybolt Pig shook his head. He used his front paw to point here, and then waved his hand. Lin understood what he meant. It meant that the clues stopped here. He could only find this place based on the smell of the spiders, but there was no way to continue searching. Okay. Lin smiled bitterly. Even Skybolt Pig couldn't find the spiders, so Lin didn't have to continue searching nearby. However, before leaving, Lin still didn't give up. He returned to the spider's nest with Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig, but to their disappointment, the spiders still didn't appear. The cave where the nest was located was still quiet, and there was no sign of any spiders. Let's go. Lin sighed, thinking that this matter was strange. In just one night it had become like this. Things were very strange. Although nothing had happened for the time being, there was no guarantee that something would happen after a long time. In short, Lin Yi did not want to stay in this strange place any longer. Where are we going now? Sun Jingyi asked. Let's go look for the Fire Lion clan. The heaven-rank spider said that, apart from the main path leading up the mountain, there is only one path leading down the mountain. Moreover, it is extremely dangerous. If we go there, we might not be able to survive. Lin Yi dispelled the idea of taking a risk. The spider race had disappeared and the map was also gone. Lin Yi planned to go to the Great Fire Lion to take a look. If it also had the map, that would be the best. He could also take the Flaming God bombs and inquire about the spider race. All right. Sun Jingyi nodded. Lin Yi left a message on the ground of the cave, explaining that he and Sun Jingyi had left first. Although the spiders had disappeared for no reason, Lin Yi wasn't sure if they would come back. It wasn't very polite to leave without saying goodbye, so Lin Yi decided to leave his whereabouts behind. It could be considered an explanation to the spiders. Walking out of the spider race's territory, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's complexion was not very good. Things were really too strange, beyond their imagination. From here, although Lin Yi was not very familiar with the road to the Fire Lion clan's cave, with the Thunder Pig as a guide, there would not be any problem. Although they were in the middle range of the Wulong Haut, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi did not relax. They were afraid that the people of the Tagan family would come looking for trouble. However, what Lin Yi did not know was that Old Six had been squatting near the top of the mountain and had no intention of going to the middle range. Old Six also knew that there were two spiritual beasts in the middle range. Unless he had nothing better to do, he would not go and fight with those two spiritual beasts. These days, Old Six had been walking back and forth around the upper range of the Wulong Haut mountain range. He also found the cave that Lin Yi had lived in. However, he did not find anything valuable in the cave. Instead, he found a small iron box. From its appearance, it should be a box that stored something valuable. If Old Six's guess was correct, this box should contain the treasure that Master wanted. However, this treasure had already been taken away. This box obviously had no value. Other than that, there were also some fast food packaging in the cave. From this, it seemed that the people in the cave had not left for long because there was not much dust on the packaging and the iron box. With 12th guarding the lower part of the mountain range, 6th brother was not afraid of anything. He only needed to guard the upper part of the mountain range. If they really encountered a master who could split the mountains and split the seas, even if he and 12th went together, it would be useless. Now, Old Six was hoping that the one who killed Old 13 was not Zhang Naipeo and his wife, but someone else. It would be best if they could split up. If they did, then he would be able to find trouble with Zhang Naipeo. Old 12 had been blocking the path down the mountain with House Tagan's guards. Every day, they would interrogate the adventurers going up and down the mountain. However, these people were all very weak. Most of them hadn't even stepped into Golden Class, and the strongest was only Golden Class. Plus, the number of adventurers in each team was the same as when they went up the mountain, so there wasn't much to investigate. House Tagan may be the strongest, but that was a hidden strength. On the surface, they were just a little stronger than the others. They couldn't interfere with the adventurers going up the mountain through other families and forces. After all, they couldn't just seal the mountain just because of House Tagan. Old 12 didn't have that intention, and House Tagan naturally wouldn't do anything unnecessary. But today, the situation was a little different. Suddenly, a strange cry came from not far from the exit of the mountain range. Following that, a crazy old man with disheveled hair and tattered clothes ran down the mountain. He didn't hide his peak heaven rank strength and revealed it to the world, causing everyone's expressions to tighten. And Old 12's expression changed. A Sky Class late phase peak, the same level as Old 6. Although he was also Sky Class, he was only Sky Class early phase peak. There was a huge gap between him and the person in front of him. Could it be that this was the master that Old 6 had mentioned? With that thought, Old 12's heart skipped a beat. Although he came from that place and had a pure practitioner's arts and techniques, making him stronger than normal people of the same level, he didn't have much confidence against a sky-class late-phase peak that was a few levels higher than him. Chapter 2280. In his opinion, even the 13th brother was able to injure him, so the 12th brother felt that he wasn't his opponent at all, especially after receiving the 6th brother's warning. He wouldn't rashly make a move against this peak heaven rank late-stage freak, so he just frowned and waved his hand at the people behind him, indicating that they shouldn't act rashly. Even if this person was the murderer who killed the 13th brother, then the 12th brother was definitely not his opponent. The 13th brother was only a little weaker than him, but this crazy old man with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage was obviously domineering and full of true chi, as if he wasn't injured at all. In other words, this person killed the 13th brother without any injuries. What kind of concept was that? The 12th brother was very clear in his heart. No wonder the 6th brother said that the enemy was very strong. Since that was the case, he naturally didn't need to stop him, so he let the heaven rank freak run down the mountain and run away in front of everyone's eyes. Although the other families and gangs in the town were also very puzzled by such an obvious powerhouse. Where did he come from? But no one was stupid enough to stop him and question him. The strength of the heaven rank freak was completely exposed. As long as it was a practitioner, they would be able to see that he was an expert with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage, who would dare to act rashly. Phew! The 12th brother watched the heaven rank freak go far away before letting out a sigh of relief. He had been under a lot of psychological pressure just now. After all, the 13th brother might have died in that person's hands, and this kind of pressure of seeing an enemy but not being able to make a move made the 12th brother feel very uncomfortable. A little impatience spoils great plans. The 12th brother reminded himself, then quickly calmed his emotions, took a pen and paper, and wrote down what he saw, then tied it to the feet of the flying spirit beast and let it fly out. He had to inform the 6th brother of this news as soon as possible. At the top of the Wulong Haut mountain range, the 6th brother looked at the 12th brother's letter and sighed in his heart. Sure enough, his guess was right. It was an expert with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage. It was right that the 12th brother didn't stop him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been his opponent. Thinking of the huge pit at the top of the mountain range, the 6th brother felt shocked. This level of expert was probably similar to his master, infinitely close to the peak heaven rank late stage, only lacking an opportunity to step into the heavenly law, just a peak late stage heaven rank left? That means that Zhang Naipeo and his wife are still in the Wulong Mountains? A cold smile appeared on Old Six's face as he thought of this possibility. That's good news. Originally, Old Six was thinking that if someone were to kill 13th, it would be that person who was supporting Zhang Naipeo and his wife. If this person were to stay by their side, then he and Old 12 wouldn't be able to take the food from the tiger's mouth, even if they teamed up. They'd be in a very passive position. Old Six, on the other hand, had been hiding, not daring to show his face in public. He was also afraid of being attacked by a peak late-stage heaven-class master. He wanted to wait for the three to separate, but that didn't seem to be necessary now. Zhang Naipeo and his wife didn't go down the mountain, but the heaven-class monster did. As long as he and Old 12 stayed at the foot of the mountain, these two wouldn't be able to escape. What Old 6 and Old 12 thought of, naturally, was what Lin Yi thought as well. The heaven-class monster had run away for no reason, and Lin Yi had lost this powerful bodyguard. Naturally, he became more careful, especially with the disappearance of the Spider Clan. This made him feel that this Wulong Mountains was full of mysteriousness. He carefully followed Skybolt Pig and Sun Jingyi to the Fire Lion Clan's turf. But what surprised Lin Yi was that the Fire Lions weren't in their nest. There were only 3 lions in the Fire Lion Clan, and it was possible for them to go out together. Although Lin Yi's heart sank when he saw the empty nest, he still waited here with Sun Jingyi. There was an ancient seal on the outside, but it wasn't set up for Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig. They could enter without a hitch, and they wouldn't have to worry about any intruders. Why is the Fire Lion clan not here? Jingyi, too, felt that something wasn't right. Lin Yi might be able to keep his composure, but she wasn't. I don't know, but this is strange. Lin Yi said, we can't rule out the possibility that they went out to look for food or treasures. Let's wait and see. Sun Jingyi nodded, feeling very depressed. If she knew that this trip to the Wulong Haut mountain range would cause so much trouble and encounter so many strange things, she wouldn't have suggested Lin Yi to accompany her here. This place was too dangerous, and it was full of suspense. They waited for a day and a night, but the Fire Lion clan still didn't return. This situation made Lin Yi feel more and more uneasy. The Spider clan disappeared, and the Fire Lion clan also disappeared? Moreover, it seemed like it happened at the same time. Previously, Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan agreed that when they went down the mountain, they would come here to pick up a Fire Stream God Bomb. In theory, even if the Fire Lion clan went out to look for treasures, it was impossible for the whole clan to go out. There had to be one person left here to wait for Lin Yi. Even if they all went out, they would rush back as soon as possible. It was impossible for them to leave for so long without any movement. This didn't match the Fire Lion clan's character. They wouldn't neglect a benefactor like Lin Yi. Skybolt Pig, can you sense where the Fire Lion clan is? Lin Yi turned to look at Skybolt Pig and asked. However, Skybolt Pig shook his head and squeaked twice. Then he used his claws to write on the soft ground. It's been too long. The smell has disappeared, can't be traced. Moreover, they don't seem to be in the range of my senses. Not in the range of my senses. Lin Yi frowned. Although the smell of the Fire Lion's route might have disappeared, under normal circumstances, Skybolt Pig could also find the spiritual beasts and treasures he was looking for without relying on this route. Since Skybolt Pig said so, did it mean that the Fire Lion clan had really gone far? They shouldn't be in the Wulong Haut mountain range anymore. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground again. Lin Yi looked at the words written by Skybolt Pig and couldn't help but get a shock. Not in the Wulong Haut mountain range? Then where did the Fire Lion clan go? The Fire Lion clan usually didn't even go to the upper and lower ranges. Now that they were not in the mountain range, where did they go? Chapter 2281. Lin Yi took a deep breath. Although this news shocked him, ever since the mysterious disappearance of the Spider clan, Lin Yi's mental fortitude had become a bit stronger. Seeing that the Fire Lion clan had also mysteriously disappeared, he only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Similarly, Lin Yi wrote a message for the Fire Lion before leaving with Sun Jingyi and the Skybolt Pig. As for the truth behind the disappearance of the Fire Lion clan and the Spider clan, it had to be pushed back to the night when Lin Yi stayed in the Spider clan's nest. A silk bridge was finally built in the wee hours of the morning. Just as the heaven-rank spider was about to bring its clansmen back to rest, something unexpected happened. Roar! An angry roar echoed as 3 fiery red silhouettes rapidly rushed over. The Fire Lion had brought the cubs and lionesses to attack the Spider clan. The 3 figures were extremely fast. Before the Spider race could react, the 3 figures had already jumped onto the Spider race's silk bridge, forcing the Spider race that was preparing to retreat back to the other side of the mountain stream. Although this silk bridge was built by the Spider clan, destroying it wasn't something that could be done in a day. They couldn't be like the Fire Lion and burn the silk bridge. They also couldn't stop the Fire Lion from bringing the cubs and lionesses onto the silk bridge. They could only keep retreating and escaping. Roar! The great Fire Lion roared angrily, and the little Fire Lion and lioness beside it also roared angrily. After the great Fire Lion got off the silk bridge, it no longer had any scruples. It directly released a flame breath, burning the spiders that were too slow to escape. Immediately, a large number of spiders were burned. Although it wasn't life-threatening, these spiders would have to use up a lot of treasures to recover. The heaven-rank spider's expression was very gloomy. It hadn't expected that the fire lion would choose to attack it this time, and it was 3 fire lions at once. What was even more strange was that the cubs and lioness's strength had actually increased to the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. In this way, although the little fire lion and the lioness, who originally had no combat strength, could not use flame breath, they could still activate the fire element true energy. This hot true energy was also fatal to the spider race when it came out with their claws. Today, when the heaven-rank spider saw the little spider picking the treasure on the cliff, it knew that things weren't going to be easy. This was because that heavenly treasure was a heavenly treasure that was useful to the Fire Lion clan, just like the heavenly treasure that was useful to the Spider clan that the little spider had picked. As for the fire elemental heaven and earth treasure at the edge of the cliff, it was actually not very useful to the Spider clan. This was the first time that the little spider had gone out alone to gain experience, so it did not know such common knowledge. It had also plucked the heaven and earth treasure from the Fire Lion clan. This had violated the tacit understanding between the 2 clans. Although the spirit beasts of the 2 clans usually clashed over treasures, they were only fighting over treasures that were useful to both clans. As for treasures that were only useful to one of the clans, the spirit beasts of both clans would tacitly choose to ignore them. After all, this kind of thing was useless to their own clan. What was the point of picking it? When you pick someone else's, someone else would also pick yours. In the end, both sides would suffer. Wouldn't that be a problem? Therefore, for thousands of years, this had almost become an unwritten rule between the 2 clans on the Wulong Hout Mountain Range. The little spider didn't know this and touched the Fire Lion clan's fire treasure. At that time, because Lin Yi was present and they had just found the little spider, the heaven-rank spider didn't say much. It hoped that the treasure was on the edge of the cliff and the Fire Lion clan wouldn't notice it. But now, seeing the Fire Lion clan furiously looking for trouble, the heaven-rank spider knew that the Fire Lion clan definitely knew that the Fire Heaven treasure had been picked. In the middle of the Wulong Hout Mountain Range, there were only these 2 clans of spirit beasts. Other ordinary little beasts didn't dare to step into the territory of the middle from the lower ridges, let alone pick the treasure. Therefore, the fire attribute heavenly treasure was either picked by the Fire Lion clan or by the Spider clan. It was no wonder that the Fire Lion clan was angry. That fire heavenly treasure was a heavenly treasure that had to be used to make the fire stream heavenly bomb. Every year, a few of these heavenly treasures would grow on the Wulong Hout Mountain Range. The great Fire Lion knew very well that he would pick them according to the order in which they ripened. It just so happened that it was the turn of the one on the cliff, but when it went to pick it today, it found that someone had beaten it to it. This was used to make the Fireball God Bomb for its benefactor. Now that it was gone, and it couldn't make the Fireball God Bomb, how could it explain to Lin Yi? So, how could the Fire Lion not be angry? What did your Spider clan want? Did they want to break the rules that had been around for thousands of years? It was true that everyone competed for public cultivation resources, but these private cultivation resources had never interfered with each other. When did the Fire Lion clan touch your treasure? In fact, this rule was also the reason why the heaven-rank spider was at ease to let the little spider pick the treasure. After all, it belonged to the Spider clan. There was no need for the Fire Lion clan to stop and rob it. It just didn't expect that the little spider had less experience. It thought that finding one more treasure was a good thing. The heaven-rank spider knew that it was in the wrong for this matter, but it really couldn't say anything. It could only brace itself and command its clansmen to retreat quickly. The inescapable net was given to Lin Yi. They couldn't do anything to the Fire Lion clan now, so they could only avoid it. Fortunately, the Spider clan was quite united. Those spiders that weren't injured used their silk to pull the injured spiders to escape. Roar! The fire lion had no intention of letting them go. It continued to spit out flames, wanting to exterminate the spider clan. It was rare for someone to kill their way into someone else's territory for thousands of years. After all, there weren't any benefits. Whether it was the fire lion race or the spider race, no one would be so bored as to harass others. If they had the energy, they might as well compete with those public treasures when they were ripe. In fact, going to other people's lair to fight would not bring them much benefits. It was just that the fire lion was really angry today. 2 hours after the fire attribute treasure was picked, it lost its original effect. So even if it was found, it would be useless. This was also the reason why it killed as soon as it came. It promised its benefactor, and now it couldn't do it. How could it not be angry? Chapter 2282. It was also a heaven-rank beast, but the other side was also one. It couldn't use rank to suppress the other side, so it could only quickly think of a way. But more and more spiders were being burned by the flame breaths, giving the heaven-rank spider a huge headache. Without the inescapable net, the spider clan definitely wasn't the fire lion clan's opponent. If it kept burning, the spider clan would be exterminated today. This timing, it was really the right time. Normally, the spider clan wouldn't be forced into a dead end. As long as there was an enemy attack, they would all hide in the cave and everything would be fine. After all, there was an ancient restriction at the entrance of the cave that the fire lion clan couldn't break. As for the spiders that went out to pick spirit herbs, they all carried inescapable nets. If the situation wasn't right, they would use the nets to trap the fire lions and escape with the treasures. Naturally, there were also times when they failed. After all, making inescapable nets wasn't easy. Not only did they need a few spiders to weave them, but they also needed some special spider clan treasures. Thus, without the inescapable net, they could only try their luck. It was very likely that they would be hit by a flame breath or a flowing fire god bullet, and then be robbed of the treasures. But regardless of which side suffered a loss, there wouldn't be any danger to their lives. But today's situation was completely different. The Fire Lion clan wanted to exterminate them. Wait a minute. The heaven-rank spider wanted to stop the Fire Lion and tell it about Lin Yi. After all, he was their mutual benefactor, so it might be possible for the Fire Lion clan to be magnanimous. But the heaven-rank spider's words didn't have any effect. The large flame lion simply ignored it and kept breathing flames. As for the lion cub and the lioness, they only used their claws to attack the spiders. It looked like there was no way out. This place was a cliff platform. The area of the platform wasn't large, and behind the platform was a cave. Inside the cave was a transmission array left behind by the heaven-rank spider's master. Aside from the array, there was no other way out of the cave. But the heaven-rank spider had no other choice but to lead his clansmen to retreat further and further until they were all concentrated in the cave. Isn't this a turtle in a jar? If the great fire lion really blocked the entrance of the cave, then it would be over. As long as it continued to spit flames, then the spider race in this cave would not be able to survive today. What to do? The heaven-rank spider was doing its best to think of a way. It looked like the big flame lion was truly angry, or else it wouldn't be so overbearing. It was just that the heaven-rank spider couldn't understand. Didn't they just touch one of their exclusive elixirs? It's reasonable to say that it was very easy for the great flame lion to compensate them. He just needed to burn some spider people, and then he could ask for some other elixirs as compensation. This was a profitable business. But what was going on today? From the looks of it, the great fire lion family did not seem to be here to scare them. They really wanted to kill them all. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to be so forceful, leaving no leeway at all. The heaven-rank spider inwardly complained. The spider race wasn't good at attacking, and even the defensive inescapable net was no longer in its hands. It was truly despairing. Great Fire Lion, wait a minute. Didn't I just pluck a fire attribute treasure? Is there a need to do this? The heaven-rank spider shouted. I can compensate you. Hey, so it was really you who plucked it. Then there's no need to talk so much nonsense. If I don't destroy your entire spider race today, I swear I won't rest. The great fire lion roared as it rushed towards the cave. The heaven-rank spider was speechless. This great fire lion simply didn't want to discuss conditions with you and directly interrupted you. You don't even want compensation? Feeling helpless, the heaven-rank spider's gaze suddenly fell on the teleportation array inside the cave. Although it knew how to open this array, it had never thought of opening it, because spirit beasts and human cultivators both cultivated, but their cultivation methods were different. It was hard to say whether the future ranks above the heaven rank would be the same. Thus, the heaven rank spider didn't want to go to the heaven rank island. It was a problem for spirit beasts to adapt there. Moreover, if it left, what would happen to the spider race? How could they be a match for the Fire Lion clan? But if it left with its clansmen, wouldn't there be a problem when the entire spider race reached the other side? The teleportation array could only be used by cultivators at the heaven rank or above. Although the physique of spirit beasts was a bit more special than that of human cultivators, it was hard to say whether ordinary spirit beasts could bear the energy of the teleportation array. In summary, the heaven rank spider had never thought of opening the teleportation array on its own. Otherwise, it wouldn't have told Linny about it. But now, it was a life and death moment for the spider race. Even if the great fire lion was lenient and didn't burn the spider race to death, just the burns would be a huge blow to the spider race's vitality. At that time, due to the scarcity of cultivation resources, the spider race would inevitably decline. They wouldn't be able to fight against the Fire Lion clan for at least a few hundred years. Thus, the heaven-rank spider clenched its teeth. Rather than resisting, it would be better to take the risk and let the entire race escape. Perhaps, once the array was activated, there would be new opportunities for him to come across. But doing so would be a bit unfair to Lin Yi's benefactor. It had already promised him, but it hadn't expected that the situation would change so quickly. The spider race would have to use the teleportation array on its own. Seeing that exquisite array emitting a faint blue light, the heaven-rank spider inwardly sighed. If there's an opportunity in the future, I'll repay Lin Yi's kindness. Thinking of this, the heaven-rank spider quickly activated the teleportation array according to its memory and then ordered the other spiders. Everyone follow me! Quickly pass! Just as the heaven-rank spider finished speaking, a multicolored ring of light appeared in front of it. When the heaven-rank spider saw this scene, it clenched its teeth and led the small spider into the ring of light, disappearing on the spot. As for the other spiders, although they felt strange as to why a halo had suddenly appeared in the cave, they unhesitantly entered the halo under the heaven-rank spider's command. But what the heaven-rank spider hadn't expected was that the Fire Lion clan actually followed after them after seeing them escape into the halo. Chapter 2283. Their Fire Lion clan had dispatched 3 fire lions in order to frustrate the spirit of the spider clan. They couldn't refine the fire stream, godly bullets, without that fire treasure. How could the Fire Lion clan not be angry? After everyone had entered, the halo slowly disappeared after a few minutes. The entire cave returned to its previous darkness. There was no longer a trace of life, and it became incomparably quiet. After the halo completely disappeared, it was as if no one had ever been there. Apart from some traces of battle, there was nothing else. As for the teleportation array, it had originally been emitting a strange blue radiance, but now it had already become dim and no different from an ordinary pile of rocks. This was what had happened that night, and it was also the reason why Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi didn't find it strange when they arrived at the cave and saw the dim array. After all, the array had been activated for the last time. After that, it was no different from an ordinary pile of rocks. so Linny naturally couldn't see any clues. And what the Lightning Pig said was that the Fire Lion clan was no longer in the Wulong Hout mountain range. This was true because they had all disappeared, and no one knew where they had gone. Without the help of the Fire Lion clan and the Heaven Rank Spider, Lin Yi could only rely on himself. According to the Heaven Rank Spider, going down the mountain from another direction would be even more dangerous. It would be better to go down the mountain the normal way. Although it would be a bit dangerous, he should be able to find another way. If they kept going forward, they would reach the lower range of the Wulong Hout mountain range. Once they got close to the lower range, the danger would increase a lot. Although there were different adventures in the lower range, it was hard to guarantee that there would be people from the Taganlong family. Jingyi put on the 1,000 silk mask. Lin Yi thought for a bit before saying, "If we see anyone suspicious, we'll split up. You go down the mountain first, and I'll look for an opportunity to go down the mountain. Your appearance has changed, so if you're careful, you should be able to feint. But just in case, leave 2 inescapable nets." "Ah, inescapable net, 1 is enough for me." "Why don't you leave 2? Sun Jingyi said hesitantly. "No, I'm fine. If I'm in danger, 1 card is enough." "If 1 isn't enough, 2 cards won't be of much use," Lin Yi said. "Then, all right." Sun Jingyi hesitated for a moment before nodding. The 2 of them walked through the middle of the mountain range and walked towards the lower part of the mountain range. At the lower part of the mountain range, the jungle was obviously much denser. Lin Yi deliberately avoided several adventure teams that came here to gather herbs or to gain experience. Who knew if there were people of the Tagan family among them? Although Lin Yi could see through the strength of those adventurers, it was always better to be careful. However, sometimes what you want to hide from will happen. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi didn't walk far before they heard a cry for help. Lin Yi frowned and looked into the distance. He saw a team of adventurers fighting a white tiger. Blood was everywhere, but it wasn't the tiger's blood, but the adventurer's blood. That tiger wasn't a spirit beast, and it hadn't stepped into the golden rank. It didn't even have half of the golden rank strength. It was only because it was influenced by the abundant spiritual energy of heaven and earth that it possessed some of the characteristics of a spirit beast. From what Lin Yi saw, its fighting strength was about the same as the lion in the zoo. However, the adventurer's strength was a bit weak. They didn't even have a cultivator, and none of them had stepped into the golden rank. There was only a seemingly more powerful external cultivator that was fighting the tiger inextricably. Lin Yi shook his head. They dared to come up the mountain with this kind of strength? However, thinking about it, there were many elixirs on the Wulong Hout Mountains. Even if it was in the lower range, the elixirs collected were also priceless. There was no lack of greedy adventurers who formed teams to come up to make a fortune. If they were lucky, the elixirs collected could be exchanged for a few years without a problem. Therefore, this high-risk but high-return industry also gave birth to many adventurers who wanted to try their luck. The members of the adventurers saw Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi from afar and immediately shouted for help. The adventure teams in the Wulong Hout mountain range rarely crossed paths. Even if they met, they would pass each other without saying a word. After all, this involved a conflict of interest. Everyone was just searching for elixirs, and due to the few families and gangs at the foot of the mountain, there would basically be no cases of killing and robbing each other of their treasures. Of course, if an adventurers encountered a beast attack, the other adventurers generally wouldn't help. After all, these adventurers who were collecting elixirs at the foot of the mountain were very low level. They couldn't even protect themselves, so why would they care about others? There were very few golden rank masters among them, and generally, golden rank masters wouldn't covet the money of these elixirs. However, when Lin Yi saw the situation in front of him, his heart moved slightly, and he came up with a plan. The adventurers in front of him just happened to have 1 person dead, and it was a female. She was bitten to death by the tiger. If Lin Yi helped and killed the tiger, then let these people bring Sun Jingyi down the mountain It would be a very good choice. The families and sects at the foot of the mountain might not be so thorough in their investigation. Besides, even if they were thorough, Sun Jingyi's appearance had changed. Even if they remembered how many men and women there were in this adventure team, they couldn't possibly remember everyone's appearance. Of course, the reason why Lin Yi chose this adventure team, other than coincidence, was because this adventure team's strength was very weak. They shouldn't be spies of the Tagan family. If they were the Tagan family's people, there was no need to put on a trick of injuring themselves to gain the confidence of others. After all, they couldn't possibly expect that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi would pass by here at this time. And their situation should be that they were really attacked, and their identity was also that they were real adventurers. Jingyi, I'll help these people solve the problem later, and you go down the mountain with them. I'll go down the mountain alone. Lin Yi quickly told Sun Jingyi, after you go down the mountain, find a way to return to the previous border town. Don't stay in Ruilita town. Okay, I got it. Sun Jingyi nodded. Now wasn't the time to care about the gains and losses. Although she was worried about Lin Yi, this was also the most appropriate way. Otherwise, if she stayed by Lin Yi's side, Lin Yi would also be afraid and have to take care of her. Chapter 2284. After landing on the ground, the tiger's body twitched and could no longer move. Obviously, it was as dead as it could be. Lin Yi's sudden appearance surprised all the adventurers. They were both surprised and happy. The tiger died just like that. They called for Lin Yi to help, but it was just a desperate attempt. They didn't think that Lin Yi would really come to help. Moreover, it was so easy for him to kill the tiger that everyone was trembling with fear. This was simply too amazing. After a while, the adventurers cheered. The injured adventurer who fought with the tiger said to Lin Yi politely, "Thank you for saving us, Senior. I'm Biao, the leader of this adventure team. Senior, you must be a practitioner, right? I just stepped into the golden class not long ago." Lin Yi said faintly. He didn't reveal his strength, only the early phase of the golden class. Of course, the strength of the early phase of the golden class was more than enough to kill the tiger. No wonder. Biao's eyes showed a look of admiration. You're a practitioner indeed. Only a practitioner can solve a problem so decisively. Senior, thank you so much. It's nothing. Lin Yi waved his hand and said faintly, "Aren't you going to bandage the wound on your arm?" "Bandage, I'll do it now." Biao smiled bitterly. "I forgot about the pain. I only remembered now that you mentioned it." As he said that, Biao took out a bottle of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine from another adventurer's bag and poured it on the wound. He then bandaged it with gauze. Lin Yi noticed that the Miracle Dr. Guan injury medicine in Biao's hand was the special edition. He couldn't help but smile. It seemed that although these adventurers lived on the edge of a knife, they had plenty of money in their pockets. The medicine they bought was the best edition. In fact, for people like them, there was no need to use the expensive hardcover version of the injury medicine. The ordinary version was enough. This was because these people did not need to leave no scars like women. Besides, if it was a new injury, there was no need to use the hardcover version of the injury medicine. The ordinary injury medicine would not leave any scars. Of course, Lin Yi didn't say this out loud. After all, the money was in Lin Yi's pocket. "You guys are really unlucky. You actually met a tiger?" Lin Yi said without batting an eyelid. "Yeah, we're unlucky. We're not local adventurers. We came from somewhere else. We're not familiar with the terrain here. Sai, it's really unlucky. We came to gather herbs this year, but we met a tiger not long after. We even lost a team member. What a bad start." Biao, on the other hand, was very eager to talk to Lin Yi. After all, in the eyes of these adventurers, practitioners were unreachable existences. Even early phase golden class masters were high above them. Usually, when they met them, they would raise their heads high and ignore them. It was rare for Lin Yi, a practitioner, to say a few words to them. If that's the case, what do you guys plan to do? Lin Yi nodded. He was happy. These people weren't local cultivators, so they were probably his compatriots. As long as they didn't have anything to do with Rue Leda town, Lin Yi was relieved. What else can we do? Let's go down the mountain. I'm injured. The rest of us are also exhausted. If we stay here, we won't be able to deal with stronger beasts. Biao said with a bitter smile. If that's the case, that's perfect. I still have other things to do, but this friend of mine is going down the mountain. Let her go with you guys. We can look after each other. Lin Yi pretended to be deep in thought. Of course. Biao agreed without thinking. But we have to bury our partner first. Then we can go down the mountain. Let me help you guys. Lin Yi was really afraid that they would carry a corpse down the mountain. If that happened, the number of people wouldn't be right. Usually, the families at the foot of the mountain wouldn't be strict. But now that the Tegan family was watching, even if it was an adventure team sent by other families, they would definitely check it secretly. That's great. Thank you so much. Biao said gratefully. For Lin Yi, digging a hole in the ground to bury a corpse was a piece of cake. Lin Yi casually used a branch and dug a hole. Biao and the other adventure team members buried their partner's corpse. For adventurers like them, who lived everywhere, there was no such thing as returning to their roots. They would be buried where they died. After doing this, Lin Yi said goodbye to Biao and Sun Jingyi. As for the unnecessary words, Lin Yi didn't say it to him. The more he said, the more likely there would be problems. It was better not to say it. Otherwise, Biao would have a psychological burden and give himself away. After sending off Sun Jingyi and Biao's group, Lin Yi found a place to hide temporarily and made plans. Lin Yi didn't intend to go down the mountain so early. At the very least, he would wait until Sun Jingyi safely left the Wulongheot mountain range. It would be best if he returned to the border town before Lin Yi went down the mountain. That way, Lin Yi wouldn't have any scruples. Even if he encountered a master, he could throw a trap and then run away. It shouldn't be a big problem. And so Lin Yi sat on the ground and started channeling the art of dragon mastery. Practicing, Biao brought Sun Jingyi and the members of the adventure team down the mountain. However, they didn't expect that there would be sentries set up by a few big families and gangs at the exit of the mountain range. They were conducting strict checks on adventurers going up and down the mountain. Biao wasn't stupid. On the contrary, he was the leader of an adventure team, so he was naturally smarter. At this time, when he saw this situation, he subconsciously turned his head to look at Sun Jingyi. The appearance of Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi was too strange. It was also a little strange that Lin Yi, as a cultivator, helped them, a group of ordinary adventurers. Although they were in danger, why did Lin Yi act so righteously? And his attitude was very kind. Moreover, the most important thing was that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi actually acted separately. He let Sun Jingyi follow his group down the mountain, but he himself didn't go down the mountain? Of course, if the checkpoint at the exit of the mountain range had not been set up, Biao wouldn't have thought of so many things on a deeper level. But now that he saw the people who were doing the checkpoint and thought of the strange things that happened before, Biao understood a little. Chapter 2285. Thinking of this, Biao slowed down his pace and quietly came to Sun Jingyi's side. He lowered his voice and asked, "Are the people at the exit looking for you?" Sun Jingyi was shocked. She didn't expect Biao to discover this. But now there was no need for Sun Jingyi to hide it. Since Biao had guessed it, it was useless for Sun Jingyi to hide it. She could only say, "Yes, but they don't know me." "That's good." Biao nodded and quickened his pace. He didn't say anything more. Since the people at the bottom didn't know Sun Jingyi, things would be easy. As long as Biao led his team members to accept the interrogation step by step and then go down the mountain, it would be fine. He wasn't prepared to betray Sun Jingyi. Firstly, Sun Jingyi's friend, Lin Yi, was their savior. Although Biao wasn't a gentleman, he wasn't a villain either. He wasn't willing to repay kindness with enmity. Secondly, if Sun Jingyi were to be recognized by the interrogators, wouldn't the whole team be in a good place? It was already good enough that Biao wasn't accused of harboring the enemy. At that time, the entire adventure team would be in trouble, so Biao wouldn't do such a stupid thing. The interrogation below seems to be very strict. Don't talk nonsense later. I'll handle it, Biao said to the others in the team. Yes, the others in the team were obviously very convinced of Biao as the captain. They didn't ask much and agreed directly. Biao nodded and led a team of people to the exit of the mountain after the team in front of him accepted the interrogation and left. What's your name? Which family arranged for you to go up the mountain? Why did you go up the mountain? The one who spoke was Lotzi. He knew Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. Although he didn't see these two people in the team, he still asked with a cautious attitude. My name is Biao. I'm an adventurer from the border town. I paid through the Fire Wolf gang to go up the mountain to collect herbs. Biao said respectfully. Oh. Razy nodded and turned to look at one of the leaders of the Fire Wolf gang. Biao. A total of 8 people went up the mountain. 6 men and 2 women. The numbers match up. Let's go. The leader of the Fire Wolf gang looked at the information he had registered before and waved at Biao. Okay. Biao was relieved and nodded. Then he said to his team, Let's go. However, just as Biao was about to leave with his men, a voice suddenly rang out, Wait! Biao's heart sank, but he still maintained his composure and turned his head around. He smiled and said, May I ask what's the matter? It was Laz who'd spoken up, and he looked at Jingyi with a flash of surprise in his eyes. Biao, your teammate's not bad, huh? How about spending a few days with our young master Tagan? Spirit pills and miraculous medicines can't do without you. Although Sun Jingyi had become a different person after wearing the 1,000 silk mask, she was still very beautiful after wearing the mask, perhaps because she was already beautiful. Laz knew that Taganlong was in a bad mood these 2 days, so he wanted to find a pretty girl for him to play with. Biao's face changed slightly. He didn't expect that there would be new problems when he was about to leave. He didn't know how to answer and was very anxious. Laz, are you going to break the rules? The leader of the Fire Wolf gang looked at Laz coldly. The Tagan family and the Red Conches were on good terms, and the Red Conches and the Fire Wolf gang were enemies. Naturally, they wouldn't give the Tagan family any face. Biao and his men went up the mountain using the Fire Wolf gang's route. If anything happened, who would go up the mountain using the Fire Wolf gang's route? The Oolong Hout mountain range was an important way for the few forces in Ruilita town to earn money. The leader of the Fire Wolf gang naturally wouldn't let Laz take Biao's men away. Let's go. Lazi hesitated for a moment and waved his hand, indicating that Biao could bring his men away. Under such circumstances, he didn't want to become enemies with the Fire Wolf gang over such a small matter. It wasn't an important matter anyway. If they were to fight with the Fire Wolf gang, it wouldn't be appropriate to delay the important matter. Thank you. Biao cupped his fist at the leader of the Fire Wolf gang and breathed out in relief. If Sun Jingyi was really taken away, things wouldn't be fun. Biao's current behavior didn't raise any suspicions. After all, Laz was trying to force his teammates to stay, so it was reasonable for Biao to let out a sigh of relief. What Laz didn't expect was that he almost caught a big fish, but because of the Fire Wolf gang, his good fortune was ruined. If Jiang Wen knew that the leader of the Fire Wolf gang had done something like this, he would definitely be so angry that he would write a letter to the leader of the Fire Wolf gang to punish him. Phew! Biao let out a long sigh of relief after leaving the Oolong Hout mountain range and coming to a place with fewer people. He looked at Sun Jingyi with some hope in his eyes, but he didn't say it out loud. He only said to his teammates, "It seems like something happened in Ruilita town. We shouldn't stay here for long. Let's go back to the border town today." "No problem. We'll listen to you, Captain." His teammates nodded without hesitation. "My savior, where are you going? Are you going back to the border town with us, or?" Biao called Sun Jingyi his savior. Although she didn't do anything because of Lin Yi, he didn't call her his savior for nothing. "I'll go back to the border town with you guys." Sun Jingyi didn't dare to stay here for long after escaping from death. She and Lin Yi had agreed to go back to the border town first and wait for Lin Yi there. As an adventurer who often traveled between Ruilita town and the border town, Biao naturally had his own way of crossing the border. He didn't need to contact a middleman like a local. Since they had decided to leave, they didn't delay any longer. They brought Sun Jingyi with them and prepared to cross the border through their own way. As for Lin Yi, although he was worried about Sun Jingyi's safety on the Oolong mountain range, he didn't act rashly. Instead, he quietly trained on the mountain. He had to make sure that Sun Jingyi left Ruilita town before he could go down the mountain. Otherwise, he might implicate Sun Jingyi. Of course, Lin Yi naturally didn't know that Sun Jingyi followed Biao and the others back to the border town on the first day they left the mountain. So, Lin Yi stayed on the mountain for another 2 days before he was ready to go down. Chapter 2286. Of course, Lin Yi was only using this chi bomb as a precaution. He would only release it when he had no other choice. If there were too many people at the foot of the mountain, Lin Yi would rather waste an inescapable net than rashly use the chi bomb. This trick was too obvious. If someone didn't die and continued to investigate according to this trick, it was very likely that they would find out that the person who used this trick was Lin Yi. This could probably be found out as long as they inquired. However, if they only knew the appearance, it wouldn't be easy to find someone. Lin Yi guessed that this Tagan family's information channel wasn't particularly well informed. Otherwise, if they could find someone based on appearance, Faubert and Grandma Sun would have been found long ago. They wouldn't have to wait until now. Of course, even if Lin Yi used the chi bomb, Tagan family might not be able to find out that it was Lin Yi. It was just that this trick was too obvious. There were too many people who knew about it. At least, many people from the hidden aristocratic families knew about it. Lin Yi didn't want to take the risk. Moreover, the Tagan family's backing was rather sinister. Lin Yi also didn't want to expose his big killer too early. Sure enough, when Lin Yi was about to reach the mountain's exit, he saw an adventure team being blocked at the exit to be interrogated. It was much stricter than when Lin Yi and the others went up the mountain. Lin Yi raised his head and glanced at those people one by one. He saw La Zi. It seemed that the Tagan family had really decided to block him and Sun Jingyi here. He didn't know if Sun Jingyi had safely descended the mountain. However, when Lin Yi's gaze swept past La Zi, it finally landed on a middle-aged man wearing a bagua robe not far away. Lin Yi was simply too familiar with this outfit. The Tagan family's great protector was also dressed like this. Moreover, Lin Yi could clearly see this person's strength at a glance. It was the peak of heaven rank initial stage. Another heaven rank expert wearing a bagua robe came. Lin Yi frowned. It seemed that the Tagan family had some goods. One heaven rank expert died and another one appeared. Seeing this heaven rank expert, Lin Yi didn't go down the mountain for the time being. Instead, he hid his strength and calmly hid behind a thicket. He wasn't far from the mountain range's exit, but he was well aware of the situation at the exit. In fact, with Old 12's perception, he could completely sense Lin Yi's presence. Lin Yi was already within Old 12's perception range. However, the 12th brother didn't have Lin Yi's jade space. It was impossible for him to have an inexhaustible supply of true qi. Perception consumed a lot of energy. It was fine to perceive for a while, but if it was to be used up all the time, even a peak late-stage, heaven-stage master would faint from exhaustion. Moreover, the 12th brother's main purpose was to seal the mountain range's exit and block Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi here. There was no need for him to perceive the situation on the mountain range. Old Six was responsible for searching the mountain range. What was the point of him trying to perceive? This also made it convenient for Lin Yi. He didn't need to perceive Lin Yi. Lin Yi simply entered the jade space to cultivate and perceive them. During the day, the 12th brother didn't talk to anyone. But at night, Tagan Long secretly came to the temporary tent that the Tagan family had set up at the bottom of the Wulenhate mountain range. There was no news for a few days. Tagan Long was a little anxious, so he secretly came here. The 12th brother saw the arrival of Tagan Long and frowned slightly. "Why are you here? Didn't I tell you to keep a low profile at home for a while and not come out?" "I'm anxious too. Did you catch Zhang Naipeo and those two?" Tagan Long asked carefully. "What's there to be anxious about?" The 12th brother said. "These are troubled times. It's very dangerous. Those two are fine, but there's an old lunatic at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank who seems to be with them. Your master's great protector died at his hands, and you still dare to come out?" The 12th brother warned with a serious expression. "Ah, they have someone supporting them." Tagan Long couldn't help but click his tongue. "Sky Class Peak Late Phase?" "That's right. And the Sky Class Peak Late Phase crazy old man has already left the mountain. I didn't stop him. I can't tell where he is right now. If you go out rashly, and he sees you, be careful not to lose your life." The 12th brother nodded and scolded. "So you're saying that the Sky Class Peak Late Phase crazy old man isn't with those two?" Tagan Long immediately understood the crux of the matter. "That's right. That old man left, but those two haven't come down yet. Your 6th master has already gone up the mountain to find them. I've set up a blockade at the exit," the 12th brother said. "If there's nothing else, quickly go back and hide. If the Sky Class Peak Late Phase crazy old man comes, I won't be able to protect you. He's too capable and has the power to split mountains and seas. This? All right, but those two people had 2 spirit beast essence cores on them. 12th Marshal Uncle, you must think of a way to get them for me." Tagan Long had actually been eyeing the 2 spirit beast essence cores this time. One had to know that this thing was very rare. Even his sect, that place, didn't have any in stock. They did have ancient spirit beasts, but they couldn't just kill them and take out their inner cores, right? Tagan Long believed that if he dared to make such a request, his sect would kill him first. "So you're thinking about the 2 spirit beast essence inner cores." The 12th brother nodded and understood Tagan Long's meaning. "Don't worry. I'll give it to you once you get it." Although the spirit beast essence inner core was a good thing, it couldn't compare to Tagan Long's importance. Having such a good thing for him to protect himself would make his sect less worried. "Thank you, 12th Master." Tagan Long was overjoyed and promptly said, "Okay, you can go back now. Hide at home and don't come out." The 12th brother waved his hand. "Yes, 12th Master. I'll take my leave then." Tagan Long bowed and left the tent before disappearing into the night with his followers. And their conversation reached Lin Yi's ears, which made Lin Yi sigh in relief. The heaven rank freak was fine and had escaped. It looked like the 12th brother didn't dare to stop him and just watched as the heaven rank freak ran away. This situation made Lin Yi feel a bit funny. Although the heaven rank freak had the power of a peak late phase heaven rank powerhouse, he still wasn't a match for an early phase heaven rank powerhouse. And the 12th brother was a peak early phase heaven rank powerhouse. Yet he didn't dare to make a move. What would he think if he knew the truth? Chapter 2287. This was exactly what Lin Yi wanted. It seemed that the death of the Great Protector was blamed on the heaven-ranked weirdo. Lin Yi didn't have to worry about them suspecting his chi bomb. They would also think that the crater at the top of the mountain was caused by the heaven-ranked weirdo and had nothing to do with Lin Yi, a small Earth-ranked middle phase. But this way, the chi bomb Lin Yi had compressed couldn't be exposed. Although it could kill the 12th brother, Lin Yi would also be exposed. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that the Tagan family was so capable. From what they said, there was another master on the mountain, and the 12th brother was called the 12th uncle, and the one on the mountain was called the 6th uncle. This meant that the one on the mountain was much stronger, especially the number 12 made Lin Yi click his tongue. What kind of family was this? Even more powerful than the ancient sects, with at least 12 heaven-ranked masters? How many heaven-ranked masters did the Ice Palace have? Who would have thought that in this remote Raylight town there was such a family? This shocked Lin Yi, and he couldn't help but ponder. His level was still too low. Only by standing high could he see further. He was only a small Earth-ranked middle phase. Once upon a time, Earth-ranked masters were existences that Lin Yi looked up to. But now it really wasn't much. It was just that things were often like this. With a different reference, the conclusion would naturally be different. Shaking his head, he temporarily put these thoughts aside. What made Lin Yi happy was that it seemed that Sun Jingyi had successfully escaped from these people's interrogation. From what the 12th brother said, he thought that Sun Jingyi was the same as him, still on the mountain. This also meant that Sun Jingyi had safely left, and Lin Yi didn't have to worry anymore. Sun Jingyi had already been gone for 3 days. This was enough time to leave Raylight Town and go to the border town. Moreover, Tagan Long and Old 12 did not mention anything about Sun Jingyi being captured, which meant that Sun Jingyi was really fine. However, what puzzled Lin Yi was that Tagan Dragon seemed to value the two-spirit beast essence Nadens very much. Lin Yi initially thought that this kind of thing was very common, but now it seemed that it was not the case. Even the Tagan family, which was rich in heaven rank experts, valued it so much. It was probably something very important. But what was the use of this thing? Lin Yi wanted to get more information, but Tagandragon didn't say much. He just mentioned it and left. It's time. Lin Yi stood up. At this time, there shouldn't be any adventure teams going down the mountain. Moreover, the people at the exit of the mountain range had relaxed, so it was a good time for Lin Yi to escape. Of course, Lin Yi didn't expect to be able to hide from Old 12. It wasn't realistic to silently slip away from a heaven rank expert. He could only leave quickly and then lead him to another place to see if he should use the inescapable net or the true energy bomb. If there were many people, then he would use the inescapable net. If there were no people, then he would use the true energy bomb. I'll leave first, and then you take advantage of the chaos to slip away from the side. Follow me nearby, and meet up with me when the danger is over. Lin Yi told the Skybolt pig next to him. Gigi. The Skybolt pig nodded to show that he understood. After making a decision, Lin Yi didn't delay and directly jumped down the mountain range. In the darkness, Lin Yi's figure quickly swept past the checkpoint at the exit of the mountain range and flew towards a place not far away. A cold snort came from the Tagan family's temporary tent. The moment Lin Yi came down from the mountain, Old 12 felt it. He knew that the person he was waiting for had arrived. He jumped out and chased in the direction where Lin Yi escaped. Behind him, the second and third protectors also followed Old 12 and flew in the direction of Lin Yi. Lin Yi looked at the 5 people behind him and secretly cursed his bad luck. Among these 3 people, although only one was a heaven rank expert and the other 2 were only earth rank experts, Lin Yi wasn't sure that he could kill all 3 of them at once. After all, these 3 people were one in front, one in the middle, and one in the back. The distance between them was very wide, and they even had the intention to outflank him. This made Lin Yi very depressed. If one of them couldn't be killed, then Lin Yi's strength would be exposed, so Lin Yi didn't dare to act rashly. It seemed that he could only use the inescapable net. He hoped that this net could cover 2 people. If it only covered one person, Lin Yi really didn't have the confidence to escape. Feeling that the 3 people behind him were getting closer and closer, Lin Yi directly led them to a back alley, a place where it was easy to escape after using the inescapable net. Then he suddenly threw out his hand and shouted, "Inescapable net!" That inescapable net was aimed in Old 12's direction. That person was Lin Yi's archenemy, so it should be able to cover him. Sure enough, Old 12 was startled when he saw the net falling from the sky. He didn't know what it was and subconsciously wanted to dodge. But how could he dodge the inescapable net? It wasn't just him. Even the second protector, who was very close to him, was implicated. After the inescapable net fell, it directly covered Old 12 and the second protector, leaving them with no leeway to resist. Lin Yi had experienced this heaven's net firsthand, and he knew how powerful it was. Sky-class masters were nothing in front of this heaven's net. No wonder the Sky-class spider could use this heaven's net to capture even the Sky-class fire lion. But thinking about the heaven stage fire lions and heaven stage spiders that disappeared for no reason, Lin Yi's chest felt suffocated, and he couldn't say anything about it. What is this thing? Old 12 raised his hand and pulled out a scimitar. This was his weapon. He wanted to use the scimitar to break the inescapable net in front of him. However, he had underestimated the inescapable net. He used the first style of an ordinary martial skill and poured his true chi into the scimitar. However, it was not able to break the inescapable net in the slightest. Instead, it made the inescapable net tighten even more. Originally, the third protector wanted to continue chasing after Lin Yi. But after seeing this strange scene, he had no choice but to stop and help because he didn't know what magic weapon Lin Yi was using. Although he was a member of the Tagan family and knew of the existence of the spider race, he didn't know what magic weapon the spider race used. Chapter 2288. His martial skill struck the inescapable net, but it was as if he was hitting cotton. There was no resistance at all, causing him to waste a lot of energy. Lin Yi had already run far away at this time. Although his divine sense could still sense what was happening behind him, his footsteps didn't stop. If he didn't run away now, then when? Lin Yi was also glad that the third protector didn't chase after him. Otherwise, with the third protector's strength at the peak late stage of Earth rank, it would be troublesome for Lin Yi to kill him. Lin Yi would have to lead him to a more remote place and use the true Qi bomb to kill him. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yi was afraid that these 3 people wouldn't be able to be killed in one blow, he would have definitely thrown the true Qi bomb at them while they were trapped in the inescapable net. After turning a corner, Lin Yi slowly turned the true Qi bomb in his left hand back into true Qi and returned it to his body. He also restrained the true Qi fluctuations on his body. At this moment, Lin Yi was no different from a normal person. After walking a few more streets, Lin Yi arrived at a dark hiding place. He slightly stretched out his hand and waved. The Skybolt pig very obediently ran to Lin Yi's side. This little guy was very clever. Even if he lost Lin Yi, he could rely on Lin Yi's Fire Stream God Bomb and Spirit Beast Essence Niden to find Lin Yi. Phew! Lin Yi let out a long sigh. Things were going very smoothly. The Heaven Stage spider really didn't lie to him. Even Heaven Stage experts couldn't escape from this inescapable net. It might be very difficult to get rid of it. Lin Yi went down the mountain. At the exit of the Wulong Haut mountain range, the remaining people of the Tagan family were also anxious. The 12th protector, the 2nd protector, and the 3rd protector all went to chase after Lin Yi. Although there were still 2 Earth Stage experts here, their strength was relatively low. On one hand, they couldn't help. On the other hand, it was because Lin Yi went down the mountain, but Sun Jingyi didn't. They still had to block Sun Jingyi here to prevent Sun Jingyi from taking the opportunity to go down the mountain. La Zi, go back to the Tagan family immediately and inform young Master Tagan and the Patriarch. Tell them what happened here. The one who spoke was the fourth protector, and he instructed La Zi. Yes, La Zi quickly nodded and quickly boarded a Hummer. Then he drove it towards the direction of the Tagan family. However, La Zi's car didn't go far before it was targeted by someone. The person who targeted La Zi was naturally Lin Yi. La Zi didn't expect that Lin Yi would actually return to the vicinity of the Wulong Haut mountain range. The most dangerous place was the safest place. After the 12th protector, the 2nd protector, and the 3rd protector broke free from the inescapable net, the first thing they would do would probably be to search for him in the whole town. Therefore, Lin Yi simply took a detour and returned to the vicinity of the Wulong Haut mountain range. He was prepared to randomly grab someone to ask for the specific address of the Tagan family. Now that the experts of the Tagan family were all out, the interior must be very empty. At this time, if Lin Yi went to cause a ruckus and conveniently took care of Taganlong, Lin Yi would naturally be very happy. He had long hated Taganlong. If he could conveniently get rid of him before he left, why not? Lin Yi could also see that this Taganlong seemed to be very important. Even the 12th brother was very concerned about him. If he died, the Tagan family would probably be in big trouble. Of course, although the Tagan family was very powerful, and Lin Yi could see that they had at least 12 heaven rank experts, these experts were definitely not in Rue Leda town. If they were, the 12th brother wouldn't have told Taganlong like that, and he wouldn't have been so careful. With 12 heaven rank experts, any kind of enemy could be dealt with. Therefore, it could be foreseen that the interior of the Tagan family was empty. It was just the right time for Lin Yi to cause a ruckus. Originally, Lin Yi was going to casually grab a member of the Tagan family or any other family to ask for the address of the Tagan family. However, after returning to the Wulong Haut mountain range, he happened to see such a scene. Razi actually wanted to return to the Tagan family, so Lin Yi could just follow him. The Tagan family was located in an independent manor in Rue Leda town. The manor occupied a very large area. It was surrounded by fertile fields and forests. There were no houses on the surrounding roads because this was the private territory of the Tagan family. Of course, if a family didn't have a certain level of strength, it would be impossible to live in such a place. There were no signs of human habitation in the surroundings. What if they were attacked by bad people? Only a family like the Tagan family that had countless practitioners would dare to do so. However, this place just happened to be a good place for Lin Yi. It was a good place to kill and rob without worrying about being seen by anyone. Razi drove the Hummer on the road in front of the manor. However, a person suddenly appeared on the originally empty road. This situation made Razi jump in fright. He almost thought that he had seen a ghost. After all, in the middle of the night, a person suddenly appeared in the middle of an originally empty road. Anyone would feel terrified. Fortunately, Razi could be considered a small leader of the Adventurers Guild. He was also a practitioner. At this time, when he saw someone come out, the horror only lasted for a moment. The next moment, he realized that the person who came was not friendly. However, Razi didn't plan to stop. He stepped on the accelerator and prepared to ram. Since someone was standing in the middle of the road and wanted to stop the car, then it definitely wasn't a good person. Razi didn't need to be polite at all. He just needed to step on the accelerator and ram over. If Lin Yi was still a golden class, he would naturally be afraid of the car crashing into him. However, Lin Yi was now a practitioner in the middle of Earth class. He had a powerful true chi to protect his body. Even if this car crashed into him, it wouldn't cause any harm to Lin Yi. On the contrary, if Lin Yi threw a punch, he could overturn this speeding car. First form of Frenzy Fist. Lin Yi waited for the moment when Razi's car drove over and made his move. Just the first form of Frenzy Fist was enough. Razi was a golden class master. Lin, he was really afraid that this move would be too heavy and kill him. So this punch was mainly used to send the car flying. Boom! A loud sound. The speeding car suddenly flew into the air and flipped in the sky before landing heavily on the side. The four wheels were already facing the sky, spinning in the air. Lin Yi's punch was just right. Raisy's car didn't crash and die. Get out, Mr. Raisy. Lin, he didn't give Raisy any time to recover. He forcefully opened the door and pulled Raisy out from the driver's seat. Chapter 2289. When he saw that the person in front of him was actually Lin Yi, his legs almost gave way and he fell to the ground. You're Zhang Naipeo. La Zi looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Why was this guy here to stop him? Wasn't he being chased by the 12th, 2nd, and 3rd protectors? How did he get away? Could it be that the 12th, 2nd, and 3rd protectors were already dead? At the thought, La Zi's face was full of fear. Lin Yi grabbed La Zi's collar and lifted him up like a chicken. With a kick, he kicked La Zi's car into the forest by the roadside. At least in the darkness of the night, one wouldn't be able to see that there was a car in the forest if one wasn't paying attention. Although Lin Yi didn't think that there would be anyone else on this road, nothing was absolute. Lin Yi was also afraid of accidents, so he took care of La Zi's car and hid in the forest with La Zi. He threw La Zi on the ground and stepped on his chest so that he couldn't move. What does a Tagan dragon need an essence core for? La Zi paused. He didn't think that Lin Yi would suddenly ask such a question. He thought that Lin Yi would ask about House Tagan's secrets, but he didn't expect him to ask about the essence core of a spirit beast. Wasn't the leap in his thinking a little too big? Hurry up and say it if you don't want to suffer. Lin Yi didn't have the patience to deal with La Zi. All right, spirit beast essence cores can be used to make essence necklaces. Don't you know that? La Zi was a little doubtful. This wasn't a secret. At least the big families in Rioliden knew about it, but no one made it except for House Tagan. Make essence necklaces? What's an essence necklace? What can it be used for? How do you make it? Lin Yi paused. He didn't think that the essence core of a spirit beast could be used like this. Essence necklace? You don't know either? La Zi was a little confused as to why Lin Yi didn't know anything, but he still explained, the essence necklace is a necklace that can increase attack and defense. It has a chance to increase attack and defense. What do you mean by probability? Lin Yi was shocked. There was actually such a thing. This was a good thing. I don't know about that. Larko shook his head. Because it's only a legend. I've never seen it before. It's just what everyone says. Lin Yi nodded. Lotzi didn't look like he was lying. Looking at his eyes, he was already scared out of his wits. So it was unlikely that he was lying. Moreover, from Lotzi's tone, this profound chi necklace didn't seem to be something particularly mysterious and confidential. Many people knew about it, so there was no need for him to hide it. Thus, Lin Yi continued to ask, how do I make this necklace? I don't know about that. I heard that only the legendary blacksmiths can refine it, and they must have a way to refine it. La Zi said, the legendary blacksmiths. Lin Yi coldly snorted. If it's only the legendary blacksmiths, then why is your Tagan family looking for this spirit, beast, essence Naiden? And you don't hesitate to fight me? Do you think a normal person would fight for an illusory existence that only exists in the legends? All right, I'll say it. I heard that the Tagan family has a blacksmiths. Although he's only an earth rank blacksmiths, he just happens to have the way to refine this essence necklace. La Zi told the truth. He had only heard about it. As for whether there's such a blacksmiths, I don't know because I've never seen it before. I'm just a nobody, so I don't know much. Oh, then you can die now. Lin Yi said, Don't, Mr. Zhang. I'm just a nobody. It doesn't matter to you whether I die or not. Please don't kill me. Hearing that Lin Yi wanted to kill him, La Zi was so anxious that he almost cried. I have a 60-year-old mother who's already dead, and an unborn child who's crying piteously for food. Lin Yi was speechless towards La Zi's unique way of begging for mercy. However, this guy was honest and didn't lie. Mr. Zhang, I'm actually just an ordinary practitioner who wants to make a living. I have no other choice in the Tagan family. Please don't kill me, I beg you. Latzi cried as he begged for mercy with snot and tears. If I don't kill you, what's the use of keeping you alive? Lin Yi faintly asked. All right, aren't you interested in that essence necklace? I can take you to the Tagan family and tell you where the family's library is. There's a detailed introduction and refining method of the essence necklace there. You can steal it. La Zi had an idea and said, Oh, you can take me there? After listening to La Zi's words, Lin Yi was a little interested. To be honest, Lin Yi really wanted to take a look at that essence necklace. That's right, I have an idea. La Zi heard that Lin Yi seemed to be very interested in that essence necklace, so he quickly nodded as if he had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. I often go in and out of the Tagan family, so I'm very familiar with the Tagan family. With me leading the way, Mr. Zhang will have fewer detours. If that's the case, let's go. Lin Yi pondered for a moment, then nodded and agreed to La Zi's request. Lin Yi came to the Tagan family mainly to get rid of the Tagan dragon. But after hearing La Zi mention this essence necklace in Lin Yi's eyes, it was something more attractive than getting rid of the Tagan family. Although this trip to the Wulonghout mountain range was extremely dangerous, Lin Yi also gained a lot. If he could get the refining method of this essence necklace, it would be a pleasant surprise. Thank you, Mr. Zhang, for not killing me, La Zi said gratefully. However, you can be spared from death, but you can't escape punishment. As he spoke, Lin Yi took out silver needles and said to La Zi, I'm going to seal a few of your acupoints. This way, you won't be able to use your true energy for 2 hours. This is also my punishment for you, to prevent you from betraying me. When I'm applying the needles, don't use your true energy to resist. Yes. La Zi couldn't refuse, so he could only nod. Compared to death, being unable to use true energy for the time being sealed was already a better outcome. Therefore, without La Zi's resistance, Lin Yi sealed La Zi's acupoints and meridians, so that he couldn't use true energy for 2 hours. Of course, if La Zi's strength was higher, he could use his true energy to break the seal on his acupoints. Chapter 2290. After Lin Yi subdued Reizi, he didn't care about him. Instead, he went to the jungle and brought Reizi's Hummer back to the road. This Hummer was very sturdy, and this Hummer was definitely custom-made by the Tagan family, so it was even more sturdy. Even though it was kicked away by Lin Yi, there was only a slight dent on the exterior. Other than that, there wasn't much damage. It could still be used. Get in the car, we're going to the Tagan family. Lin Yi ordered Reizi. Yes, Mr. Zhang. Reizi quickly ran over and got in the car. He started the car and drove towards the direction of the Tagan family. Go directly to the library later. Find out the refining method of the essence Qi necklace first. Lin Yi ordered Reizi. All right, Mr. Zhang. Reizi quickly nodded. In his eyes, people like Lin Yi shouldn't be provoked if possible. He was a person who was like a thorn. If you went against him, he would dare to kill anyone. At that time, didn't the 5th and 8th protectors become lonely ghosts? The death of the 1st protector was also related to him. Now, even the 12th protector, the 2nd protector, and the 3rd protector couldn't catch up with him. Even under such a heavy encirclement, he was still able to come here to intercept him. Naturally, this power wasn't something that Reizi could contend with. Therefore, Reizi sold out the Tagan family. He planned to run away after finishing this matter today. Anyway, Rielida town was a small power that wandered outside of a small country. No matter which country he went to, the Tagan family's hands couldn't reach that far. If he really couldn't do it, he would go to the border town. These years, Raisi was the actual person in charge of the adventurers guild that was controlled by the Tagan family. He had also gained a lot of benefits from it. Finding a safe and peaceful place to enjoy life and being a rich man was also a good choice. On the road of martial arts, he knew that he didn't have any great talent, so it was impossible for him to advance. Therefore, it was normal for him to retreat. Lin, he didn't think that much. He was just using Raisi's familiarity with the Tagan family to make use of him. As for whether Raisi would stay or leave, it had nothing to do with Lin Yi. Is it okay if I sit in the car? Lin Yi asked. It's fine. The Tagan family is tight on the outside but loose on the inside. All the experts have been sent out. At this time, the family only has an old ancestor who has been in seclusion all year round, Patriarch Tagango and young Patriarch Taganlong. Raisi had some understanding of the Tagan family. Lin Yi nodded. Even if Old 12 and the others had broken free from the trap, they would never have thought that Lin Yi would turn around and attack them instead of running away. Old 12 would never have thought that Lin Yi would be so daring. 12th brother had activated the heaven rank martial skill 10 times in a row and was a little exhausted. Only then did he barely manage to destroy the inescapable net. From this, one could see how tough this thing was. The first thing 12th brother did after escaping was not to chase after Lin Yi, because he knew that he definitely wouldn't be able to catch up. He could only search the entire city. However, he wasn't in a hurry. He wanted to first inform Old 6 that Lin Yi had gone down the mountain, but he was alone. There should be another person still on the mountain, so he should search as soon as possible. At this point, 12th brother had already guessed the plan of Lin Yi and the others, which was to go down the mountain one by one. Although he didn't know what benefits there were in doing this, it seemed to be the case. After releasing the flying spirit beasts, 12th brother waved his hand at second protector and third protector. Let's go! Follow me to search for that Zhang Naipeo! We must catch him today. A heaven rank expert's spiritual perception was very strong. When his divine sense spread out, all the cultivators nearby could be sensed. From 12th brother's point of view, if Lin Yi wanted to escape, he would definitely use his true qi. Moreover, he would always be on guard against an attack, so he would definitely circulate his inner qi. Although Lin Yi might hide in the dark, he could only hide for a while. When the sun rose, all the Tagan family's men would move out and search the entire city. Lin Yi would have nowhere to hide. At this moment, Lin Yi and Shiraz had already arrived at the entrance of the Tagan family's manor. The guards at the entrance glanced at Shiraz's car and Shiraz, who was sitting in the driver's seat. They didn't stop them and directly let them pass. As for Lin Yi, who was sitting in the co-driver's seat, they simply ignored him. This kind of situation showed that there was either a problem with the Tagan family's management or they were too arrogant. They disdained to interrogate Lin Yi and felt that he wouldn't be able to stir up a storm by himself. In fact, both of Lin Yi's guesses were established. All these years, the Tagan family had always been the #1 power among the aristocratic families and gangs in Ruilita town, who dared to cause trouble for the Tagan family. At least, this guard had been working as a guard for several years and had never met an enemy who broke into the Tagan family, let alone someone who was brought into the family by the Tagan family themselves. See, I said it's fine. Shiraz smiled proudly. Lin Yi nodded and said, Don't delay. Go directly to the library pavilion. Okay. Shiraz thought of Lin Yi's purpose and immediately wanted to say something, but stopped. What's wrong? Lin Yi turned his head to look at Shiraz and asked, This time I betrayed the Tagan family. If I stay here, I will be suspected sooner or later. So after Mr. Zhang enters the library pavilion, can you let me go and let me leave? Shiraz hesitated for a moment and said, What does it have to do with me whether you leave or not? I can't stop you either. Lin Yi said faintly. To be honest, he didn't have the intention to kill Shiraz. This was only a small character who was in the Tagan family for the sake of survival. Betraying the Tagan family to help Lin E was also for the sake of survival. Lin, you didn't need to make things difficult for such a person. But the acupoints on my body haven't been opened. Shiraz smiled bitterly and said, Without strength, I can't run far. Moreover, if I run, I'm afraid that it will attract the attention of the Tagan family. If I don't have vital energy, I won't be able to run fast. I'm afraid that I'll be caught and brought back, so that's how it is. Lin nodded. Since that's the case, then I'll tell you a trick. I guarantee that you can escape smoothly. What trick? Mr. Zhang, please enlighten me, Shiraz quickly asked. In a while, I'll enter the library pavilion. You find a dark place below the library pavilion and wait for me. I'll give a long whistle to warn you. After I whistle, it means that I've succeeded. You immediately drive out and inform those guards who are chasing me. Tell them that I ran into the Tagan family and stirred up a storm. Tell them to hurry back and support. Lin Yi said, You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.